Well, it's been a wild ride, and we're not done yet. We are the newest vessel traveling through the astral sea, but we are more akin to a comet than a ship. Elturel was not ripped out of Faerun, but rather ripped through it from like some great chain um, dangling from the prime material all the way into the outer planes. You've been dragged through the upper dark, the middle dark, the lower dark, right out the other side of the world. And that's where we are now, in the astral sea. An endless empty space filled with, I guess empty spaces usually aren't filled, but it's a tremendous void that extends in all directions, up, down, left and right, endlessly, broken only by debris and small planetoids and these color pools, which are indeterminate shape, indeterminate size, and are meant to be portals that go to a range of various worlds. It's as alien a landscape as any that you can imagine, even in your dreams. Um, and its curiosity and queerness is only amplified by the fact that it's inhabited. Giant octopi, pirates sailing the astral streams, and us as we plummet at near terminal velocity through this vast void, doing what we can to preserve the lives of the innocent as we go. It seems that Elturel has been forced into or has made some kind of infernal pact which is responsible for the chaos that we're currently witnessing. The companion was a giant ball of light that was provided by the Archangel Zariel as a gift for their service, the service of the Hell Riders when they invaded Hell generations before. The companion isn't what she used to be. Over the past few days, she began to cackle and spit lightning and darken, coating Elturel in a kind of fluorescent light that has been a precursor to the rest of the destruction, thunderbolts and lightning, and chaos as buildings collapse in upon themselves. And it seems that in a way it's every man for himself. Already Elturel has been struck into factions between the Flaming Fist visitors, who rightly claim to have the most military experience, the paladins and priests of Torm and Helm and Ilmater and Lathander, who rightly claim to be the legitimate government of the city, and the cult of Zariel, which seems to be a group of not quite rebels, not quite insurgents, I guess a deviant faction, a sect within the greater religion that is more dedicated to Zariel than they are to any particular god. The politics and problems of the city can at least take a backseat for the upcoming immediate time, because we're in the Astral Sea, and that seems to have put something of a pause, an inevitable pause, but a pause nonetheless, on this this path, this trajectory of doom. You can breathe here on the ship on Elturel, on the comet, on the rock. You can breathe here on the rock. It has its own gravity. It has its own oxygen. But we have done some preliminary tests and at a distance of maybe about 500, 1,000 feet, somewhere between 300 and 1,000 feet out, the atmosphere just disappears and you enter the true void beyond that. An occupied void. A void with ships and creatures that ply the astral routes. an indeterminate distance away. And that's where we begin today. So we just we banished the astral kraken and saved the town. What occurred after that?
I do believe that's where we left off, roundabout.
I think so. Yeah, we had banished it. We had perhaps returned to our mansion, or were doing so. And I think I had just spoken to... Oh, what's his name? He's with the Zariel guys. Not Gideon. I forget his name.
Hey, was it Gideon?
Was it Gideon? Yeah.
That's right.
The dreadlock fellow?
That's him.
Yeah, okay. But I think that was kind of what had just transpired.
Excellent.
Shall we maybe introduce X's character, or is that coming later? Like,
yeah, I'll
Wait, just do it whenever.
Yeah, that's right. It will probably be quite soon. I kind of wanted to see if you guys had any direction first.
Oh. As soon as Lucius gets back, he'll kind of let out a big breath, kind of holding his ribs, like, fuck, that hurt. Well, that's dealt with.
good work. Professional.
As I always am. I believe we should probably go about gathering up what we can from the forces here before we arrive at our destination. Try and find out what the paladins and the Duke from Baldur's Gate have with them, at least the survivors.
Spoke briefly with that Gideon fellow, and he seems intent on getting as many people to sign this ledger as possible. And even now, in such a time, he's gathering souls. I feel we may come to blows with that group eventually.
It's likely, but I'm not too sure how we handle that. We need to be careful because, well, I suspect the paladins here, they aren't aware of how fallen Zariel worshippers may actually be. And if we move too quickly in that direction, they may get involved, opposing us.
Well, what's our next move? We don't know how long we're going to be floating through this space like this. Should we preserve our strength? Do we continue to help the town?
I believe so, yeah. I think we should probably throw our support in with either Duke Ravengard. Is it Ravengard? Yeah. Duke Ravengard or the paladins themselves. Try and organize the survivors, get a count for who's who can still fight. I assume the city's not going to be heading anywhere pleasant.
I think so.
That did come out right.
We're
I was supposed to do third level cure wounds on Lucius. That's weird. The 1d8 plus 5. I'm gonna add roll 2d8s after that, and so 20.
Alright. Wunderbar.
Alright. Good. I think getting a read on how strong the city is a good idea. Though I don't doubt we're probably the strongest inhabitants.
Probably, but some of these other forces have definitely got numbers. The real question is, who do we want to speak with first? Both these paladins and the Duke from Baldur's Gate seem to be jostling for power in a situation like this. I can't see them working together too well.
I say we speak with the Duke first.
think it is. Alright, which part of the city were the Flaming Fist holed up in?
They have sort of they're quite mobile, but you find them in one of the fortresses. There's a bit of a conflict between whether the paladins are in control of the fortress or the Flaming Fist. They both essentially claim it as their own, and they haven't fought each other. I guess that's a good thing.
Are the main forces from both sides in the same place?
Yeah, but they're also both quite mobile. Yeah, so yes and no.
Particularly if we can find both Duke Ravengard and who was in charge with the Paladins? I can't remember.
Yeah, I'll give you his name in a moment.
But yeah, if we can find Duke Ravengard and the leader of the Paladins at the same time, that would be ideal. I think.
If possible, I'd like to set up a telepathic bond using the ritual casting for it before we head out to go speak to these guys. I think it'll take 10 minutes.
You've got all the time in the universe, maybe.
Literally.
So that's between all of us, unless any of you would not like to be included.
Intelligence score of 2 or less. Let me check Heavy X Shooter.
All
right. So you are linked by a telepathic bond. It takes, as you say, a few minutes, but during the preparation, you can see people outside fighting fires and sooty-faced children looking for their parents, clutching paladins trying to give some assistance to the injured, and the cult of Zariel trying to capitalize on the portents of doom.
All right, let's head over to the fortress with the Flaming Fist are based at.
So you find some members of the Flaming Fist, and they recognise the potency that you have and the usefulness that you have to the cause. Duke Ravengard finds time to fit you into his busy schedule.
Greetings again.
Howdy, y'all. What can I do for you?
I'll be rather blunt here. I'm concerned about what's happening in the city, and I think we need to work something out, or at least for what comes next. I've already mentioned our speculations about how this place isn't going anywhere nice. Do you have a count on how many of your men survived the fall of the city?
We got about around 150 we can rely on. Maybe twice as many casualties.
I see. As for what comes next, how do I put this? Yourselves and the paladins here, the locals of El Terrell, there seems to be some conflict there.
El Terrell and Baldur's Gate never done seen eye to eye, and it's deceptions like this that I always felt were on the card.
Deceptions?
You feel you've been betrayed?
Yeah, I sure do. I came here to have a liaison with the High Overseer, Thavius Krieg. Now, I ain't seen hide nor tail of Thavius Krieg since all this hullabaloo began.
I suppose that certainly is a betrayal, and the Overseer is the one that we suspect is behind all of this. But the Paladins, or at least the ones that are still within the city limits, they're victims in all of this as well, so I think it'd be best if both parties can put aside previous grievances and work together. Otherwise, who knows? We might all die here.
Once they recognize the military expertise we are bringing to the table and the leadership, then we'll be happy to cooperate alongside them. As you can see right now, it's kind of tense around here, but we ain't come to blows yet.
To be frank with you, Duke, the way that your leadership and the way the Paladins are handling the situation is, quite frankly, ridiculous. Look around you. Look at what has happened here. And you're concerned for leadership? People need you.
My boy, that's precisely why they need leadership. We don't want 100 different heads telling 1,000 people to go in 10,000 different directions. We need one purpose, one guiding light. Look, I'm not an expert in matters of arcane nature, but I know that y'all are. And that's why I'm extending my fist to you as a sign of friendship, sign of peace. The Paladins, they got their role too. They're great warriors and healers. They got a spiritual side to them that I've got a feeling these people are going to need. But we don't need conflict right now. We need determination. We need decision making. And my boy, let me tell you that Baldur's Gate is a difficult city to manage, but I've done all right down there, I believe. I think I can do all right here too, since things all going to hell around here, and these prim and pretty paladins ain't used to that sort of situation.
Paladins aren't used to evil.
They ain't used to having to make these sort of hard decisions when there's so many lives on the line. Why, what do you think's going to happen when we run out of water?
I'll create some more.
That's fine and dandy, sir. You're gonna cast that spell 5,000 times?
As much as I can. That I
We
can assure you.
appreciate everything that you can. And when the water runs out, who's gonna tell the children that there ain't no drinks for their puppies? You think the paladin's gonna let a bunch of kittens die?
I like to think that both groups have their priorities in order.
I like to think that too, and I like to believe that we can work together. But I am in charge around here, and that's the way it's gonna be, because I ain't gonna trust no one else.
Telepathically, I would like to ask the group, what if we assume control of Elturel in the current situation? I feel like we're most well equipped to deal with all of this right now. We bring both groups under us.
I mean, if you think you can, it's commanding soldiers like this isn't exactly my specialty, so to speak.
These are my people.
It would
And
also take. Go ahead.
I suspect that he's going to have the same issue if we were to try and take control as the Paladins. He's just going to say that he's more experienced than us.
I think we accept
Lucius is right.
Yeah, I think so.
Lucius is right. But the other thing I like to point out is that you have a priority here. And if you take control over this city will be first and foremost in that. I don't think you can do both.
Sanj just nods silently.
I agree. If we stay here and take leadership ourselves, we're bound to the city at that point. We can't leave.
Then we accept his fist, try to make friends, play nice. I
think
Ian
so.
can work with the paladins.
conjure my mage hand and offer the fist bump.
A little unconventional, but I'll take that as your ascension to my decisions.
Think of it as a gesture of good faith. We mean well, and we know you do too.
Very well. Well,
as
I'm
do the
going to
paladins.
return. I'm going to return that gesture of good faith with a little secret. Now, I'm going to bring you into the inner circle now and tell you some of my own personal thoughts, but I want y'all to keep this to yourself. I don't want this getting to my own men, if you know what I'm saying. This is high level intelligence. You understand what I'm saying here?
We know
You
all
can-
about intelligence.
Good. You, sir, look like a man who can keep a secret. Now, I don't know where this place is going, but I'm sure it ain't no place good. I feel it's going down, 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 down. And if we already been through the center of the world, now we're out in the middle of nowhere. I can't even begin to imagine what's worse than nothing. My friends, I feel the need to get these people off this rock. And y'all know I ain't got no ideas. But I got a feeling maybe you do. What's more, I'm wondering why you didn't just take it yourselves. But I seen what you done. You've been a real force for good around here. You've been saving all them lives, them women, them children. Now I get that. I believe in saving the strong, yeah, but I only think we save the strong to protect the weak. I don't mean to throw children in the fire. I don't mean to make women fight against monsters. No, that's not what I'm about. I'm about keeping the walls strong so the people can breathe. And I think you're about that too. Now, if y'all got any way at all to get people off this world, I want you to do so. But I'm thinking that you should take people who ain't bound to this place first. That there's some people here who live here, like, and there's a lot of people who just got caught up in it, you know? And I feel that it's not really their responsibility. You know, just a bit of bad luck. Anyway, this is not my area of expertise. I just want to find a way to get people off the rock.
Unfortunately, I don't believe it would be that easy. Sure, I could send people out of here, but that'd be what? Even if a large percentage of the population here passed away already, there would still be thousands of people within the city limits, and I can only probably do 8 people a day.
Only 8 people? Shit.
We haven't the means for a large-scale evacuation.
What about, like, them worlds we keep passing? Like, look over there, yonder. It's like all land and mountains and water. You got any way of, I don't know, getting through this here space and recolonizing some sort of world or something?
That thing there, I point up at the companion. That thing there is the steering wheel, and we are not in control. That is what is taking us where we're going, and I don't think we've established quite exactly where that is.
Yeah, it's the same solution to particularly for a situation we weren't expecting nor prepared for. We can easily move a small number of people off to places like this, but by the time we've moved, say, at most 15, 30 people off of Elturel's going to be out of range, and those 30 people are then going to be alone on whichever world they get dropped on.
Yeah, you're right. Can't start a colony with only a dozen people. You need 100 at least. Well, I guess we're all in this together then. If y'all got any ideas, then I am more than willing to take them on board. See, I'm not grabbing at straws because I want power. I just want to do what's right, and I don't trust the instincts of holy men no more. I think that religion got us into the shit we're in.
Not gonna lie, this guy's speaking my language.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not wrong. Well, we need to work out what to do here, and that may mean negotiating with the paladins. If we can get the flame, and I'll speak this telepathically through the spell. If we can get the flaming fist and the paladins to work together here, probably our first move should be taking out them cultists, or at least isolating them.
We could, if we
Gods
ban,
know they're
if we
making the
banned,
situation worse.
what if we banned the Flaming Fist and the Paladins together, and then try and strong arm this guy into cooperating?
The Zariel followers.
No, this Duke.
The Duke is the leader of the Flaming Fist.
I see. Sorry, forgive me. Okay. Yeah, great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
there's-
think we should agree to work with them and then go speak with the paladins and see what kind of numbers they've got left.
I'll speak to him directly and say, thank you for your time and taking the time to see us. We'll do what we can and continue to do so, and should you need anything, feel free to reach out.
We're all in this together, and I'm gonna be frank. There wouldn't have been shit that I could have done better than that giant octopus.
What giant octopus?
You didn't know? Y'all didn't? Y'all? Wow.
I know,
think he sort of tells you what he saw. It was amazing.
You see, none of them had anything to do with that. That was all me.
Ugh, here we go again.
It's the first I've ever heard of it.
I hope you got more of them aces up your sleeve there, dressman. Wow. You're not just wearing a pretty dress, I see.
I'll have you know that it's Sanj that wears the dresses. Lucius is wearing pants and a vest.
I'll telepathically
pants
tell
and a vest?
Lucius
That's
that
right, you're an
fucking,
optimist, huh?
I'm gonna counterspell him next time.
I'll counterspell your counterspell.
Alright. Valeria, roll a D1000, please.
Please don't make it like a 447 or whatever that
I
was.
I don't want to roll a D1000. It scares me.
It's like a 647, I think it was.
Yeah.
No, it was a 4 something.
I can't
Was it
remember, yeah.
say?
Yeah, that's alright.
Because then the second encounter with the ogres was 6 something.
Alright.
You die, roll a new character.
There.
Game over.
Well, considering that's an encounter roll, it's probably closer to everyone died, roll a new party.
Yeah, had that not worked, like literally, I think our only solution would have just been hide in the manor until he gets bored and flies. There's fuck all we could have done about that
100%,
thing.
yeah.
Valeria, you are being pursued. But before we get to the nature of your of the issue that you're currently facing right now, let's have a little exploration into your past. What world is your family from?
Toro.
Excellent. And what part?
Along the Sword Coast. I'd picked a specific city because I still need to talk to you about stuff. But yeah, somewhere on the Sword Coast, small town.
This is where we talk about it now. So, small town on the Sword Coast. It's going to be extremely familiar to the rest of the party. What did your family do in this insignificant fishing village?
My father was a map maker. Never knew my mother.
Hmm. That makes him a rather significant person in an insignificant village. Map makers by trade can't really get enough business in their own village. They have to attract people. Or perhaps he went to Waterdeep or Luskan or somewhere similar in order to sell his wares. Now, you didn't know your mother. What was it like for your father to have to raise a child by himself?
It was hard. He didn't spend much time with her. Basically split his time between working, drinking, and praying for forgiveness in the local temple of the family.
That's a pretty full schedule, and it doesn't leave a lot of time for childcare. But children have a way of surviving even the greatest of negligence. What was childhood like for you?
Spent a lot of time with the village kids or off on my own, pretending I was ill. Or with my father at the temple. Between those two, mostly. He did care for me, it's just not personally. I was well fed, I was roofed, clothed, all that jazz. Rather mundane childhood.
Okay, okay. Dad probably not the emotional bulwark you might have wanted or needed, but as you say, he took care of the important things. Um, sorry, yeah, I'm gonna. Doesn't matter. I'll
Fun.
get back to you. Having a bit of a Discord question. All right. So yeah. So a relatively mundane childhood on a relatively mundane village. What went wrong to change all of that?
At least initially, nothing. I grew up, I went out kind of exploring my wanderlust, was adventurer for a time, and after a while came back and settled in the same village um, with my own family, or at least attempted to make my own family.
Okay.
And
Tell me about your
in
husband.
recent years, my husband, my wife,
Your wife.
Catriel.
Oh,
My wife, Catriel, was,
homosexual.
yes,
Okay.
uh, um, a fellow traveling companion in my youngest days when I was
All right.
singer, bard by trade.
Uh huh. What was it about her that made you fall in love?
Her free spirit and her willingness to connect and get to know anybody.
All right. Did your family involve children?
We had one, thanks to rather questionable means. Not, in the usual way you make children. We named her Jade.
But you didn't adopt.
We can go that route if that's the route you want to go. I was gonna do
I
some
don't
kind of
know.
magic route. I
I
was
don't
gonna do
care.
some
It's
kind of
up to you.
magical route.
Absolutely.
Because there's nothing like this in canon lore, but magical route was what I was gonna go.
Perfect. No problem at all. Let's explore that. So that sounds, as you say, unconventional to say the least. How does one possibly get pregnant magically? That seems like a
Hag.
Or
Ooh.
Jesus.
Possibly.
Or Jesus, yeah. Virgin birth.
Well, God the Father, if you
Oh.
want to be technical.
Yeah. An old hag
Midichlorians.
we had dealt with at some point in our adventuring past. Although we didn't necessarily trust her, she had not fucked us over when we met her initially, so we made a little bit of a deal. We got her item she was looking for that was particularly hard to obtain.
All right. So what you suspected was a relatively straightforward fetch quest. Perhaps not simple, but at least straightforward. No doubt had complications that you may not have foreseen. Tell me about your family and why you don't have a family anymore. What went wrong?
Initially, two problems really arose in the family, besides that it was relatively quaint and normal life. First, when the daughter was born from my wife, she was partially deformed. We blamed the hag for it. But we went on. We kind of dealt with that as best we were able to. Um, but a few years ago, the Zentarum came and raided the village, trying to take it over for whatever means they have. It wasn't really known to Valeria at the time, but she was away on business, as you say, traveling to one of the larger cities since she had inherited that profession from her father with map making, cartography. And then when she returned, she found just ashes. Her family dead or gone. Her her wife was dead. Her daughter was either ashes. Her body wasn't there. Let me put it that way. Maybe she was taken. Maybe she's dead. She doesn't know.
Prior to this terrible event, how had the villagers reacted first to the unconventional sexual relationship in their town, and then to the downright abnormal pregnancy that occurred? Were they were they like those rare cosmopolitan settlements that accept people for who they are, or was there always an undercurrent of prejudice against your decisions?
I think a lot of the townspeople was mixed. For probably the majority of them, they didn't accept it. We were shunned a little bit. The more religious tried to feign appreciation or hospitality, but even that wasn't amazing. What little we did find was mostly because it was Valeria's childhood home, and those few people that she did know that were still alive still.
The Zentarum have proven very effective in other settlements at exploiting racial and cultural differences between the inhabitants, between the community. Notably, they tend to be in support of human supremacist organizations and witch burning groups, those sort of factions. Do you blame yourself for the Zentarum's action, given that your presence may have turned some of the villagers towards those avenues as a means of, I guess, security or any other reason? Do you blame yourself?
Perhaps very deep down, but at least consciously, she blames solely the people who perpetrated the act, and not herself.
Indeed. You are not the sort of person to take such things lying down. After this indescribably terrible event, how did your life change?
For a time, she was inconsolable. She used what very little monetary funds she had left, traveling, just kind of aimlessly walking, trying to comprehend what exactly went down. Eventually, she went back to the hag in a search for a way to enact revenge, to be able to do something, anything, but she wasn't willing to get involved, or was not able to get involved. And when she was turned away, she being Valyria went deeper into grief, and something from beyond called out to her motherly nature, both because of her lack of a mother and that never having that figure in her life,
Mm,
and her role now being removed from that as a mother herself, which you know specifically, but I prefer to keep that quiet for now.
not a problem at all. The entity that contacted you, that you were searching for, and who reached out for you, um, she has taken you as her own daughter, and for the first time in your life, you have a mother, but you don't have a child. You do you have a purpose?
Three, at least in Valyria's eyes. The first is to, as best as she can, completely and utterly dismantle the Zentarum and the Zentalar, which she knows is a lifelong task in and of itself, and probably impossible even then. The second, finding the exact happenings of her daughter, what happened that day when she was gone, since she had to piece together what happened. Hopefully, being able to talk to, possibly rectify what happened there, both for her daughter and her wife. And third, as long as it doesn't conflict with those goals, doing her best to serve and enact the will of the entity, this mother-like.
All right. The requests or the guides, hmm, hmm, the motivations, perhaps, of your patron seem innocent enough at first. You are directed towards saving the children. The salvation of the children is all. It's not just primary; it's secondary and tertiary as well. Um, so with this general guiding principle, um, as you go about on your path of annihilation, what sort of, for want of a better term, adventures or quests, mishaps do you get up to in your journey to the center of your own heart?
Can you rephrase the question? I'm not sure I follow
I
what
sure
exactly.
can. Who do you kill? What government do you overthrow? What businesses do you raid? What adventures do you have as a low-level character?
Oh, when I was adventuring before. Initially, she was a paladin of Lathander. She spent most of her time going up and down the Sword Coast from Neverwinter to probably down to fairly extensive territory. She was a whole different person at that stage of her life. Anything that promoted society and um, Lathander's will, very much a fanatical zealot of him for um, really just traditional lawful good paladin stuff.
Your
I had a
conversion.
variety of group members. Well,
How did survive?
cutting out from.
Did your adventuring party survive? Did you ever lose any members?
We lost a few. Most of them have spread out and done their own thing. One's a officer within a city of Waterdeep, I believe. One is a wizard that she has no idea where they've gone off to. The other was her wife, who's now dead. And anybody else that she may have temporarily traveled with, she has lost contact with.
Cool.
She only really had any relationship post-adventuring with the one in Waterdeep simply because of traveling to there for her own. They all
Excellent.
kind of parted their own ways as things came to their natural end.
After your conversion, such as it was, you focused your efforts on destroying the Zentarum, while at the same time attempting to appease your the objectives of your mistress, and that objective is to save children wherever they are. What specifically was one or more of the missions that you might have involved yourselves in, sinking ships or killing high-level operatives or burning down temples? How did you? What is a specific example of when you not just inflicted great losses on the Zentarum, but you also managed to save many children in the process?
I believe the Zentarim's tied with slavery.
Sure are.
Probably crushing a slave ring. The only place that comes to my mind would be down in Probably be a good
Yeah.
start. They're pretty big in slavery. They were for a time, all for money. Kind of went down there and lone wolfed the slums district there, doing what she could to mostly weaken the Zentarum more than find anything out, as she's had a hard time finding any leads to her own specific goals within the Zentarum beyond just destroying it and weakening it. And although she has had some mixed success in her goal, she's found it very difficult for one person to overthrow the Black.
Excellent. Did you ever sign on with pirates, even just for transport in order to hit Zentarum naval assets?
Yeah, she definitely would have been any means necessary to kill the Zentarum. If that was the most effective way, she would have most certainly done so.
Excellent. During your considerable travels, you would have, or you did rather, work underneath a collection of pirates, including one called Taurus Aurelius, a minotaur who at the time wasn't a captain, he was just a first mate, but an extremely loyal and dedicated sailor, warrior, and scourge of the seven seas. This entity, this individual, as I just mentioned, had a great sense of honor, a great kind of tenacity, but also viewed things through a kind of philosophical lens, always seeing the universe as a place for personal struggle, a place for personal perfection. He was a man or a minotaur that believed that the only way you could change the world was by changing yourself. Um, this individual proved to be one of the only contacts that you would have multiple times throughout your pillaging and plundering along the Sword Coast. Zentarum have a lot of merchant ships, as you probably are aware. This is relevant because you would have spent some time at a place called Mintan. Mintan's an island that gradually became more and more controlled by the Zentarum over a succession of about 15 years. It started out where they were just another mercenary organization, and up until recent times, where they had essentially complete control over all mercantile and government and military activities on this island. The reason why it's relevant is because you may have or you may not have recently heard that it was destroyed. The entire city, including the Zentarum, well, basically the entire Zentarum control over the city, rather, was destroyed by some operatives out of Waterdeep, acting in concert with Taurus Aurelius, your former companion. So that's just might be something that might become relevant, or it might not. For now, you're in the Astral Sea. The Astral Sea is a broad, endless void filled with impossible things, worlds made of flesh and seas made of blood, and all number of mystical and enchanted things that demi-planes, little tiny worlds unto themselves. How long have you been adrift in this endless nowhere, and how did you get here in the first place? There are countless portals in the Astral Sea. They link to everywhere in known existence. Yeah, you can think of the Astral Sea as being at the center of the universe, if that helps. Or you can think of it as being the little bits in between the universe, the mortar that holds the bricks together.
Would it be, what's the word I'm looking for? Plausible for her to have barely escaped by stealing a spelljammer on Toril? Or is that out of the question? Do those not exist there?
That's awesome. That's really awesome. So let's assume that you were that the Zentarum had finally achieved their goal of getting a spelljammer, top secret. Even Waterdeep's operatives don't know about it, but the Zentarum had a spelljammer. How the fuck did you get control of their number one asset and then send it into deep space?
Well, at the time when I had actually managed to get into the fortress where it was being held and, built, finishing touches on, thanks to some capabilities granted by my patron, I was able to sneak by the majority of the people and deal with most of the handful of builders that were there in the small time before any of the more martial guards and were called. Thanks to my tip, my sources that actually let me know it was there in the first place, and some ingenuity, I managed to get it working accidentally, and was able to get it into the Astral Sea, partially by accident, and as a result, it was not exactly in top ship shape when it actually got there, and that's what got me stranded.
Fantastic. And so now you two are adrift in the astral sea in a vessel whose value can't be measured in gold, whose importance could reshape the entire political landscape of not just the Sword Coast, but all of Torrent. And it's all yours, but it's going nowhere. Or rather, it's going somewhere, but you've got virtually no control over it. And that's when the party spots you, but it's not before the Cream have found you. You're drifting through space in bare control of the spell jamming helm. Think of it like this. Imagine you're in a shuttle and that shuttle has gone into a tailspin and you've only got enough gas, enough rocket fuel for just pumps on the engine, just enough to try to redirect yourself. But the velocity of space, the trajectory that destiny has already chosen for you, is set. You're trying to maneuver this cumbersome vessel, um, and aliens converge upon you. There's only a small group of them, only 5 ships, and each ship is about 40 feet wide, pales in significance compared to your massive vessel. But these alien vessels move with incredible precision, perfect, perfect levitation, um, yeah, complete vertical and horizontal control. You think that these entities are going to try to board your ship. Um, you've never faced them before. You don't know what capabilities they have, but they begin raining down upon your deck with fire rays, these burning rays of light energy that set fire to your sails and set fire to your deck. What do you do? The whole thing's spinning. Woof, 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 woof. You're completely out of control. What do you do?
I will try to go below deck and get into a back corner that looks like it would be the last place to be searched. Um, put up a major image in front of me to kind of show that nothing's there, and while I'm focusing on that, do my best to pray, for lack of a better term, to the Pale Lady.
Perfect. And so, you know the measure of your own capabilities, and so you retreat into a defensive position with no one to challenge them. The 5 bat-shaped vessels land down upon the deck and begin exploring the top deck, the second deck, and through. And you manage to see what they look like. Great insectoid creatures, mantis people, thrycreen, if you're familiar with them. And these thrycreen mantis people do a fairly systematic search of your vessel. When they find the spell jamming helm, they know what they're looking for. And they set about attempting to make it their own. But by now, the rest of the party can see or has witnessed a spectacular event. Out there in the nether, an untold number of miles away, you can see a ship, a galleon, and it's flying Zentarum colours. This doesn't look like any galleon you've ever seen before, though. It's much more like a Halruan skyship. It's seaworthy, but it has great big wings and masts that hang horizontal as well as masts that go vertical. It's an unusual design and the distinctive one that Sanj and that Lucius would recognise as based off Halruan skyships, possibly a spelljammer. This ship is in a tailspin. It's getting 7 Gs right now as it flips and flips and flips again. But while this occurrence happens, 5 alien vessels shaped like bats, about 50 feet wide each, come in and try to use tractor beams to slow down the velocity, and try to use fire beams to nullify any resistance. Eventually, they land upon the vessel. So that's what you've all seen, these little batwing ships land upon a great galleon flying the Zentarim's colours. It's still spinning out of control, and it looks like it's just going to go past you through the depths of space and zip on forever, never to be seen again. What do you do?
Lucius is just going to glance at Sanj and nod and start stepping forwards.
It's flying Zentarum colours, there's likely an array of technology on there.
That's indeed what I'm thinking.
I've only read about this sort of stuff.
Last session, when Sanj was experimenting, did he determine whether it's possible to breathe outside the bubble?
No, I stayed within the water. I didn't put my head out.
Okay.
Bugger that. That's the only thing.
Oh, right. So the homunculus doesn't need to breathe, but when I sent it out, what would I have been able to determine for traveling and everything?
I guess make an Arcana check, I suppose, and then ask me some more specific questions. Like if you want oxygen content, for example. Yeah.
Is a 30 good enough?
30's really good.
I want to quickly determine how we would move outside, like if it's something unique or if we'd need to use flight magic, because it doesn't seem like there's any form of gravity. And then also if we would need to use some kind of magic to cover breathing.
All right. Good questions. Welcome to the planes. Welcome to the astral plane, a realm of pure thought. This is where wizards come when they want to make new worlds. This is where new worlds are made. And they are made through the power of thought. They are made through the will of the sorcerer, the wizard. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to insult you. Anyway. So, here you are in the realm of thought. When you breach every large object, like Elturel's pretty big, when every large object has its own gravity field and its own, call it an oxygen sphere. It's not always oxygen, but we'll call it oxygen for now. So every world has its own atmosphere. You'd need to have an asteroid of around about the size of a small ship to have any atmosphere at all. So if it's less than about 50 feet in diameter, just forget about it. If it's about 100 feet in diameter, it's probably going to be able to keep like one person or a handful of people alive for a handful of days before the oxygen will eventually run out. Spelljammers, they travel they have to basically take on air the way traditional ships have to take on water. They go to an island in the sea, restock their air supply, and move on again. So no, you won't be able to breathe out there. You're going to die. Not going to die immediately, but you will eventually die, probably of cold, but more likely of maybe of cold, but more likely of die of lack of oxygen. As for moving, all moving is done through thought. The smarter the person, or the stronger the will, the more easy they are able to adapt to the environment. And that's basically what spell jamming is. I know you didn't ask this, but you're probably interested. To get it to spell jam, to control your vessel in the depths of the astral sea, you sit in your spell jamming helm, usually a chair, but it might be like a crystal ball, doesn't matter. You sit in your spell jamming chair, and you use magical energy, spell slots in essence, to provide power to the various aspects of the ship. You give it direction, you give it velocity, you might create a force field, you might power weapons. There's a lot of things you can do. Yeah, that's it. That's it. And so that's kind of how it works. It's all done through the power of thought. You've got to be pretty strong-willed to control an entire vessel. It's much easier to control just your own astral body.
Alright, Sanj, I've got a way to get myself over there. I'm not sure about you, though.
Depends on how long it would take me to get there. I don't really... I couldn't really guess the distance at this point. Is it a matter of miles, Arctic?
It's a matter of miles, kind of, but we're also moving at like who knows how fast.
Yeah, so
it's this is metaphysics. It's not just even
yeah.
physics, but metaphysics.
Yeah,
right?
that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I think the safest bet here, Lucius, is to say that I do not have a way to accompany you over there.
Is it approaching in like it's heading towards Elturel? It's gonna pass by, or can we try and...
probably missed by several hundred feet.
Alright, yeah. So what I'm going to do is wait for it to approach, and when it looks like it's getting to the closest point, if it's not within range of a dimension door, I'm going to cast Resilient Sphere around myself and head out towards it.
Excellent. Will you be going alone?
Yeah, Lucius wants to check it out, because it looks like the Zentarum ship's out of control. Which means if we can go fishing in troubled waters...
If it's a matter of feet, a matter of 100 or so, but a matter of hundreds of feet, I might be able to dimension door there.
Yeah, the Resilient Sphere is only if it does not enter Dimension Door range. If it does,
Okay.
I think me and Sans should grab two people a person each, and Dimension Door over there.
Yeah, if that's the case, I'm prepared to do that for sure.
Alright.
Keviak, will you join me?
I always got your back, boss.
Very nice.
Alright. Farah or Adrastia, either one of you want to come over here?
Yeah, but are we all able to go, or does one of us have to stay back?
I can make multiple trips if we need to.
I wish I had prepared Arcane Gate today, but I didn't think to.
I'll hang back. I'm not interested in being teleported over there just to die.
Are you sure, Adraste? I can go last.
No, I'm fairly sure. You have fun.
There shrugs. Alright.
Chuckle. Sometimes I think you're the smartest among us, Adrastia.
Always the pessimist.
Alright, so I suppose we wait to get into TP range.
That's it, and it becomes a question of timing at that point. You're ready, and then it's almost too late. I guess, it's I'm thinking an initiative roll to try to beat the initiative of the thing that passes you on by. But if you can think of there might be more appropriate, like a dexterity saving throw or an acrobatics check, I'm thinking initiative roll.
Would you allow insight to line up and time it properly?
Insight, that's best. An insight check is perfect, yeah.
Awesome.
Could I make an Arcana check in advance to try and gain advantage to work out the timing before it has arrived?
That's also a good idea, yeah.
You're probably good, though.
I think Sanj knows what he's doing. Metaphysics was his major. Then again, Lucius has read the same books, passed the same tests, got the same results.
Not quite as quickly, though.
Is that suitable, or do you want a initiative roll on top of them?
Yeah, make the insight check on top of that. Insight with a team. Uh-oh.
Sad word.
I will use my inspiration on that.
Alright.
He may have read the same books, but his prac work, I don't know.
Unfortunate.
Intelligence
Okay.
isn't everything.
No, you know, fucking insight. Insight is a stupid skill.
Things
I'm
go
with
bad.
you, Lucius. I'm with you. +0 insight club.
Just kill him and sort him out later. That's what Raise Dead's
Exactly.
for.
That's my motto.
Yeah, it is.
You're trying
I'll
to
just
perfect-
use I'll just use the second dimension door to correct any mistakes if I need to.
Excellent. So, Sans, you arrive perfectly. You're on the deck of a ship that has its own gravity. So the gravity to you feels normal, but all around you, you can just see whoosh, whoosh, whoosh as all these stars
Yeah,
jet
okay.
stream all around you.
Oh
It
my.
doesn't make you. It doesn't feel wrong. You can breathe the air. It's a little bit fetid, a little bit stale. You can also smell a little bit of carrion. There are there's some blood stains and violence that looks like there was a one-woman massacre went through here at some stage. But more importantly, there are 5 vessels on the deck of this major vessel. Those have you seen the Scarlet Marpanoth, our submarine?
No, I don't think so.
All right. Well, it doesn't really matter anyway. It's do you know what the bat wing looks like? That flying
Yeah, yep.
Batmobile. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's what these things look
Yeah,
like.
sick,
That's
alright.
that's actually pretty accurate. They're red though. So these 5 red vehicles are bat-winged, about 50 feet wide. They seem to have little spell turrets coming out of their nose. You can't understand it immediately, but I guess you've got bigger concerns right now because Lucius and Farah are in a place that has no oxygen. You guys have just teleported into the wrong spot. You're in the depths of space and you can't breathe. What do you do?
Can I
I
can
will
I
just cast a second dimension door.
can I telepathically tell Lucius, oh, just plane shift yourself out of that one. Go on, like it doesn't matter.
No, you're kidding me? Because Farrah's cussing really bad right now. I swear to God, Lucius, get us out of here or else.
Lucius, are you sure? Because if you use your spell, then that will be the last breath that you can take.
Well, I mean, my contingency will protect me.
Farrah grips his arm really tight in a death grip and doesn't let go.
I'm not sure there's a whole lot I can do to help them, unfortunately.
Nobody had their anti-space spells prepared.
when we
Fucking anti-space
when
spell.
we long rested before the Kraken, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I don't have any portents. Yeah, well, I mean, it's either do nothing and let Farah drown in space or dimension door again.
And you land on the deck, and you're face down as gravity suddenly hits you. Everything is spinning, but you can breathe.
Thank you, Lucius. You're trying to breathe.
It all worked out in the end.
I help them
She's
both
just
up.
glaring at both of them. Fucking wizards.
Keviak, you as a dwarf, you're here, right? Sanj brought Keviak, yeah?
That's right, yeah.
Indeed.
Of course. He's like a koala and her baby. Of course, Keviak. Alright. So, Keviak, you've never seen vehicles like this. That goes without saying. But more interestingly, these things aren't made of metal. These ships, these batwing ships, are chitin. They're not any metal at all. They're like insect shell.
The fuck?
You could break this with your fist.
Huh.
Sanj couldn't. You could.
So are there any creatures on deck?
Not on deck, but you can see where a hole has been blasted in the deck. It's still smoldering, it's still smoking, and you can hear alien chittering coming from down below.
I'm going to. So these large the chitinous, whatever the bug vessels.
Yeah.
Do they appear to be Like you said, they're like 40 feet wide. How much of that is wingspan? How big would like
Virtually
the
all.
cabin on one of these
About
be?
5 feet wide. Like you look in the cabin. The cabin has a glass dome over it, like the Jetsons. Everyone know the Jetsons? Anyway, the, so there's so they have a glass dome over the center part, and there is a fluid, a membranous fluid, which fills the lower half of that cabin. It would appear that the pilot gets into the membrane and grabs some levers and things underneath the membrane and just kind of settles in.
All right, so we can tell by having a glance at these five that there's no aliens in the cockpits.
They might be made of liquid.
No physical ones.
You don't see any humanoids anyway, and like humanoids, all intelligent life is humanoid, right? So there's no humanoids.
And we can gather that unless they're halfling aliens that like clown car these things, there's probably 5 aliens below deck fighting Zentarum.
With an insight check of 26, yeah, that's probably a logical conclusion to make.
All right, Sans, let's try and find the control room or whatever this controlling this thing. Keviak, Lucius just takes one thumb over his neck and any Zentarum or aliens you find.
Way ahead of you.
I grab a leather strap around my arm. I cast mage armor.
Alright, and I believe the 4 of us are heading for the hole below deck.
All right.
I'll take my wand out.
No worries. You go through the first deck onto the lower deck, and in the lower deck you see a scenes of a massacre. Someone has been through here and has killed every Zentarum agent they have found. The deaths have likely been quite grisly and gruesome, but nonetheless efficient. Valeria, would you like to describe how some of these scientists and arcane scientists and engineers and Zentarum specialists might have perished?
The more scientific or common, like profession-based people look very much like just single stroke to various, in like very important organs, whereas any that look like they may have been capable of fighting are much more grisly. There's like several slashes, like somebody probably cut a throat and then just kept on slashing anyway afterwards.
You get the feeling that the assassin was professional and committed and thorough, but there's no signs that they survived or that they got away. Nor are there any signs of these aliens. Yet you find a set of maybe a ladder perhaps leading deeper into the lowest deck, into the cargo deck. And down there, you can hear not just the chittering of these aliens and the movement of boxes as they search. You can also see the glow of their weapons, which have coloured tips that radiate a fluorescent colour: blue, red, green.
Oh man, now Lucius is getting even more excited. Alright, Keviak down the hole.
We'll take point with the shield up.
Oh, spewing. I have no more ointment for true seeing. Okay. Onward.
The Kreen witness Keviak's arrival. Keviak, what you see before you are a set of praying mantises, red in colour, and these red praying mantises hold within their hands a kind of futuristic crossbow that doesn't have any wings. No sign of bolts or arrows either, just a glowing light that sits not quite at the tip, but near the business end of their two-handed trigger wands. These praying mantises are dressed in a kind of light chitinous armor, that reminds you of the material that they built their ships out of. In any case, they don't seem to be interested in negotiation. They immediately open fire.
Dumbasses don't even have bolts in their crossbows.
Until Arctic rolls them and they got the fucking antimatter rifles from DMG to do 68.
Yeah.
Hey,
Disintegration.
Arctic. Is this anywhere near where I'm hiding, or no?
It is right there. So you're just behind your hallucinatory terrain, and you essentially have the drop on them, being hidden right behind them.
The
Remind you-
bug
me of
people.
Toad.
Can I
That's right.
can I
Fun
see these 3 weirdos or 4 weirdos?
At the moment, you can only see a dwarf, and make a history check, and don't get a critical success, or that'll be very bad.
Oh, sorry, I still have it on to GM 5.
No worries.
For
But,
anybody.
fortunately, you do not recognize Keviak as a former Zentarum operative. For you, that would have been an awkward introduction.
You killed my family. Prepare to die.
I get that reaction a lot.
I will remain hidden because I don't know the capabilities of either of these fucks. Either group.
Excellent. Very wise indeed. All right. So I foolishly opened the character sheet, and now it's going to punish me for it. All right.
Roll 20, is it?
Yeah. So Lucius, did Keviak, I might have to put you down, don't I? Yeah, Joe.
Yeah, sorry.
You have to be put down. Nobody puts Keviak down.
Nobody puts
crosses
the
the
dwarf in
door.
the corner.
So Lucius, Keviak's down there. Are you just gonna like have faith in him?
I'm gonna follow him down, shouting at him, "Don't fucking damage their weapons! The weapons!" And I'm going to cast. I'm gonna probe how resilient these things are and cast Magic Missile with a 3rd level spell slot on
Alright.
the guy in the middle. So I think that will send 5 missiles. Yeah. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 18 points of damage.
18. Make an insight check just as your reaction, if you want to use your reaction.
Nope.
Alright, it's difficult to tell because the magic missiles seem to be absorbed mostly by their armor, and it cracked their armor really badly, but you're not sure if you did much damage to the target themselves.
If a basic spell like Magic Missile is gonna damage their armor, Keviak's probably just gonna, well, eek.
Who needs an insight check?
Yeah, it's like, if they're not completely immune to Magic Missile, Keviak's just gonna kill them all.
Keviak, you're in close quarters here. This is the guts of a galleon, so it's not very big. Big for a ship, but it's still the base of a ship. Close quarters, where you like to be.
Exactly. Close quarters is a specialty of his, you might say. And yeah, he's gonna use that to his full advantage, just lift his shield up to block any of their not crossbow shots as he runs up. He's just gonna rage and start hacking into the close,
Excellent.
recklessly.
It activates its shield and defends against your first blow.
Ah, you didn't see my trap card, bitch.
Whoa, this shield seems to shoot out from within its carapace, like there's a central jewel a little red garnet, and whoa, this red shield blocks your first blood.
Alright, Kiviak's pissed. He's gonna, like, there's one thing he doesn't like, and it's magic fucking with him killing something, so he's gonna frenzy and attack a third time.
Excellent. Bram, you
Block
break
that.
through and you shatter this thing's defenses.
Or 11 damage.
11 damage, perfect. Not enough to kill it, but you do cause it to leak the goo that reminds you of when you step on a cockroach.
Roger, roger.
And at that point, the Kreen just unleash with everything they've got, firing into Keviak with fire bolts, with acid bolts, with frost bolts. The red barrel guns firing fire, the green barrel guns firing acid, and that probably should be like DC. 10 at least, not 0. Let's go with 12. DC 12.
DC 0 sounds okay.
Sounds pretty bad.
Is the save just for if they hit?
Yeah, that's right. Two DC 12 dexterity saves.
Do you dodge the sploosh?
That's
It
exactly
all
right.
just, everything just hits his shield.
Splooshing on the shield.
All right. So yeah, so it's 2 DC 10, DC 12 save and dexterity saves.
Oh, it splashed down. Okay, my bad, I misheard.
Yeah, no, yeah. Yeah, cool. So the red pulse rifles function in a relatively simple way. You point and aim, and a blast of superheated fire energy comes out, a laser beam, and it bounces off your shield harmlessly. Doesn't even threaten to scratch it. The frost bolts are quite similar. You see your shield freeze over, chill over, and but it's a very mild attack that would barely stun a squirrel. The acid, however, comes out as a spray, a bit like a flamethrower might, and you manage to block the first spray, but the second comes at a different angle and comes in beside you. It's only 4 feet of 4 points of acid damage. It's relatively insignificant, and more than anything, it's fascinating for Lucius and Sange to witness this alien technology in the field.
We're just standing back like, oh, so that's how it works.
I thought so.
How painful is it, Keviak? Does it burn, or is it a bit of a mild irritation?
He's like foaming at the mouth.
Use worse aftershave.
All right, so Farah, you leap down and you see these giant mantis people with their chitinous armor firing their futuristic weapons, and Keviak don't give a fuck.
As she hears Lucius ask how do you feel right now? She's like, really? And I'm so sorry for in the background. She moves her 35 feet, and she's like, well, you know what? Take this, and she shoots her own ray of ice, and it doesn't, stings as much as Keviak's aftershave.
Yeah, they activate their personal shields. Wow! And your bolt just collects over the force field. Well, Sanj, you've always been a bit of a field scientist.
With my bonus action, I think I'll cast Expeditious Retreat.
Uh-huh.
So I will just post that. Now, dash is a bonus action? Yeah. It's a concentration spell. It's a transmutation spell, sorry, so I'm going to put 10 foot of movement speed to myself as well.
Cool.
Through the stone. And then I will bonus action, dash 40. Then move 30, I suppose. And then I'm just going to use my action to Ray of Frost this guy here as well.
Perfect.
Pull out the Master Apprentice wand and let rip. A 15.
Well, it would have gotten through, but for his defensive force field, which he activates annoyingly.
Fair enough. Curious. That's
Little,
my turn.
little chest jewel grows and glows and creates this red barrier.
Remind me to extract that.
Oh, I will. So which one of these has not yet been damaged? The two at the back, or
Two at the back and the one on the bottom.
that one? All right, ideal. Lucius is gonna start approaching, and I'm going to use my action to pump a 5th level spell slot into my belt, which will activate the animated mithril ravens. And all 10 of them are going to go for this guy at the bottom here that has not yet been damaged. And they're going to try and carve him up without harming the armor. So this is 10 tiny mithril ravens just trying to go for like the joints, the neck, that kind of thing.
Brutal.
10, 20, 10, 19. Does the 15 hit? I'm guessing the 10s and the 11 don't.
You'll need a 19.
19, so 1,
No,
2,
a 20 actually. You'll need a 20. Yeah, 20.
a 20, alright. 1, 2, 3, 4 hits, so I believe that is 4 d4s plus 16. It's 23 points of damage on that guy there.
Ooh, brutal. You rip apart some of his limbs, and one of his antennas is ripped off, and one of his eyes is completely eaten out, and there are ravens detaching one of his arms from his shoulders. It's systematic and grisly.
But I'll change that down to... And yeah, that's my turn.
All right. Keviak, I think.
Aye. Yeah, Kevia keeps up the hacking and a whacking and a slash.
Bam.
Is the 15 hit?
It will not. He activates his personal shield, and it defends him. But the
Ray
second
shield up
strike. That's it.
25 damage.
The first attack breaks him, and the second one splits him in half so that your weapons are covered in this greenish goo.
Kiviak just points to the next closest one and says, "You next!"
They communicate with each other with a bunch of mandible chitters and moving of their antennae and even some squeaks. And they seem to go into a panicked frenzy. The one who's engaged with you activates his blur. It's probably not going to help him though. This one activates his blur as well, the one being Ravened. Probably not going to help him either. Because they... meanwhile, the other ones see the support that's coming, and they give it everything they've got. Removing from their belts a kind of spherical metallic object, they give it a click, and it begins to count down. Ding, 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 ding.
Uh-oh.
Boom! And another boom! I guess it's probably higher than DC 0.
Now,
It's probably around about DC 12, and it targets the group back here.
now,
Wait,
my
so is
question
this like
is,
a grenade? Or...
It is a grenade.
am I able to counterspell a grenade? I never thought I'd have to ask.
Would you like to try?
I think no, because Silence wouldn't have. It's like more mechanical, maybe. I don't know. Would he? Yes, he would. I'll try and counterspell the first one.
All right, it fails.
Okay.
The grenade cannot be counterspelled.
I couldn't have guessed. It's a nice
And
research
I'm-
attempt, though.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to cast Absorb Elements for resistance to fire
Oh,
damage.
wait. If anyone's within 5 feet, none of you are within 10 feet of me. Hold on.
Wait, hold up. Am I not?
Yeah, you are. You are. And Jizz.
Well, what does that mean? Do I get something?
Plus
Plus
5 saves.
5.
Oh, okay, great. So 15 and an 11. What was the DC I did?
12.
12? Okay.
0.
Yeah. So full and then half damage.
So,
So I need to make 2.
oh,
The ship is pretty fucked up at this point. Like, it's just you've blown atop the roof, as in the second deck, and they've also blown a hole in the floor. So you probably should make a dexterity saving throw as well.
Did I fall
I
into
mean,
space?
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Maybe it's actually strength. Make it a strength save. Yeah, strength save as you.
Now you're picking on the wizards.
A strength save. Here we go.
DC is only 10.
The DC, that you don't understand. That's not good.
It's a 50-50 chance with these fucking...
It's a 5, but it's still not good enough. I begin.
Son just been sucked out into space.
Strength saves?
I'm just picturing Adrastia's point of view back from over on Elturel. There's an explosion on the bottom of the ship, and then Sanj just
Little blue
pop.
dot.
I'm just-
Would
that's about
I
right.
get the plus 5 on the saving throw with Pharaoh there as well?
Yeah, you do.
Yep.
Then
yeah.
I think I do get it because my strength saving throw is 0, so it would have been a 5 plus her 5 is a 10.
That's awesome. And so you're
Oh,
hanging
I-
on
I
like your
literally-
dress is flapping in the wind.
I reckon I'm like there's like a hole in the ship, right? I'm like.
Oh, you want to know
like
how it happened? You
pancakes?
grabbed her tail. No, you grabbed her tail. That's your plus 5.
Pharaoh, please, hold on.
Grabbing some tail, boss.
Keep swinging, Keviak, you prick.
Alright, Farah, you have a Sanj attached to you.
Oh, mother of... And she, like, grumbles and she, like, pulls her tail up and places him on the deck. And then she says, next time all you need to do is ask. And then she moves her 30 feet more forward and ends her turn. I would, like, pulling him up, I guess it'd be an action. So she'd pull him up and then just move her.
Excellent. You are safe again now, Sanj.
So I kind of like dust off my like left shoulder pad, like wipe my brow, adjust myself. Oof. Oh. And I am going to move. Yeah, like there. And I think I'm going to conjure up a Scorching Ray. So 3 beams. And I'm going to try and hit this guy in the back here
Alright.
with all 3.
Ooh, shield's not going to stop that.
So the final one is 10 points of fire damage.
3!
And that's my turn.
Hey, Arctic.
Yeah.
As this combat has evolved and they've moved forward, can I see the other weird? And if so, what am I seeing?
Absolutely. You would have seen everything that's gone on. You're basically positioned right here. They're backing up towards your hallucinatory terrain right now. And so you've witnessed it all. These guys look like the most classic Water Davian adventuring band you've ever seen because they are so racially diverse and chaotic in their professionalism. You don't know what world they're from, but they do remind you exactly of the classic the classic Sword Coast adventurer that is eponymous with the place.
Okay.
Lucius does wear all his signets and everything out in the open.
Good
Yeah,
point.
that's kind of what I was going for.
Yeah.
In that case, I would jump in if I see an opportunity and try and strike one of these guys in the back. The
Perfect. Cool. We'll put you on initiative 0, so you can act right now.
I will go down and strike this boy that just got blasted with fire as best I'm able with my blade.
You have advantage because he has no idea that you're there. So you guys, the back of the ship is a line around about here, and a silent assassin, a beautiful woman, just suddenly emerges from behind a sheen of solid matter and proceeds to execute your enemy.
If you're curious what she looks like, I have it on the front page of my character, so you can read it. But I'm not gonna, go into all that right now. Yes, this one. Does an 18 hit?
It will, because he doesn't know you're there, so he doesn't activate his shield.
Okay, in that case, 31 damage, and I'll keep.
A precision assassination.
Okay, I probably don't have enough movement to go the rest of the way, so I'll start dashing up towards this one at the top, and that's all.
He panics, completely unaware. Which means, where did she come from?
That accent's spot on. That accent's spot on. You speak it really well.
We're in trouble.
That's actually a pretty racist accent. They don't all talk like that.
I'm offended.
Oh my god.
God damn it, Arctic. How could you do the bug people like that?
I know, like, 4 legs good, 6 legs bad. That's all I'm saying.
8 legs better.
So yeah, after these guys have thrown out grenades, Lucius is like, let's end this quickly. So as a bonus action, my ravens will attack him again.
He has blur.
Disadvantage, so just take that as a 9, a 23, a 9, a 15, and 11, so only one of them, and then this will be the second 5 then. So a 24, an 18, a 9, a 15, oh,
21.
yeah, 24, 18, a 21, a 9, an 11, and a 10, so only 2 of them will hit.
Alright. Superior cream technology.
2d4 plus 8. 14.
Will be enough to rip apart his pitifully weak chitinous body.
And then this is on the one at the top left up the back there. Lucius is just gonna fucking disintegrate him. So that's it.
You read my fucking mind.
Shield!
That's
Shield!
Dexterity. Dexterity. DC 18.
Oh fuck.
Boom!
The force field is disintegrating.
I got a disintegration ray too, bitch.
I'm imagining he sees that little green dot heading towards him and just starts pounding his chest like, shield, fuck!
That's it. Keviak, this one is already wounded. He is blurred, making him a little bit harder to see, but his pitiful attempts just make you more angry.
That they do. There's one thing Keviak doesn't like, and it's magic fucking with him killing shit.
The first blow kills him, and the rest is just gratuitous violence.
As that one dies, I would like to attempt to use my reaction to cast Soul Cage on it.
Alright.
What the fuck are you casting on me?
Not you, the bug. For
Oh,
sure.
I know, but Keviak.
Gotcha. That's not what I meant to do, but you got. We'll be fine.
It may need to
Is
be
there
a
any
humanoid.
saving throw?
I don't think so. Let me double check though. I was trying to link you the text and I fucked it up.
Yeah, it's
No
a
worries.
wall of text, that one. Yeah, I've used it before. I'm pretty sure it's humanoid, and it's just when it dies, you just snatch
Yeah.
the soul.
Is it a humanoid? There you
I
go.
think so. Yeah.
Turns out to
Yeah.
be yes.
Okay. And in that case, yeah, it just snatches it.
And boom, nice one.
All right. You have the soul of a green red cast.
Okay. As she casts it, she stretches out her blade toward it, kind of in a horizontal direction, straight towards the bug, and like this little white ball of light in a like extremely fast speed shoots out of the bug as it falls and into a tiny silver cage at her hip.
A powerful
Lucius
spell.
will, Lucius will raise an eyebrow at that. You Zentarum.
She'll take out a small cloth from her belt pouch and start wiping off her blade. No.
Alright then, I suppose you're the one that handled all of that upstairs.
Yes. I'm Valyria, a servant of the Pale Lady, and you?
Lucius, and Lucius will kind of wave off to the rest of the group and start looking around. Where's the controls for this ship? We should try and stop its movement before sitting for a conversation.
Surely the vessel is far too damaged.
Kiviak picks up one of those ray guns and tries to shoot it at the wall.
All right. It doesn't activate.
He
It has
gets
no
angry
buttons
at it
to-
and does everything he can to get it to fire.
It's a
gun.
very effective club. Yeah, it's a good
Yeah,
club.
he just starts
Equal
beating it
damage.
against the wall like a confused gorilla.
Can I try and pull the
Keviak.
gem out of this guy?
Yeah, you can. Make an Arcana check as you do.
Sure.
It's not an ordinary crystal, but you can't identify what's special about it. And that seems obvious enough, but there's more to it than that. What I guess I really am saying is that this is not a spell crystal that, in the sense that you're familiar with. You know how you use different crystals to do different effects? This
Yeah.
isn't one of those.
Yeah, okay.
It's not a technology you've ever seen before.
Am I still able to extract it? Because if it's not tech that I've seen,
Yeah.
I'll still like take it and pocket it, even if I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, you are, and assuming that yeah, I'll tell you what it is once we've worked it out.
Sounds good.
Lucius is kind of rapidly searching around for the helm or the Spelljammer helmet.
Yeah, you find it. Their Spelljammer helm is in the form of a throne. It's a great dark throne, and you sit atop this throne and just lean back, and that's what you do.
Yeah,
See
so
what nicer ship?
Lucius is going to try and work out how to operate it and see if he can try and stop the spin.
All right. You sit yourself in the throne then and attempt to attune to the ship.
Yeah.
Okay. Make an Arcana check.
Alright. I am good at these. 19.
You don't really get the hang of it, but you do understand the theory. It functions off spell energy, so you basically convert your spell slots to different abilities, and most logically propulsion, but there are certainly other things you can do. Now, as you're aware, we're in a velocity, and Elturel is in a different velocity. By now, by the time we've subdued these alien creatures, we're probably miles away from our former destination. What are you going to do?
Lucius, did you plan ahead?
Well, I mean, we can try and work this out and try and get it to keep pace with Elturel. You know, I'm just thinking if we were to do some repairs, we might be able to move some of the civilians off the city, but also, I mean, worst case scenario, we can try and get back to Elturel with our magic in the morning.
Well, I can get us there now, but I don't think I can bring the ship.
I kind of really want to try and work this out. The damage the ship has got, is it a case of holes in the hull, something that can be repaired, or is it completely wrecked?
No, it's not completely wrecked, but it's yeah. I imagine you had a shipwreck, but it wasn't at the bottom of the sea. Potentially, you could repair a shipwreck that's not at the bottom of the sea. It's in a bad state. Yeah, it's in a bad state.
Well, they're. I'll ask after. Let me know.
Yeah, Lucius just wants to determine if it'll be possible for him to try and. He'd probably try to attune to it a few times, try and work it out. And he wants to work out if he can fly it and kind of. I'm not sure if dock is the right word, but kind of tie it to Elturel for the time being. Because he doesn't know how long the city's going to be flying for. And if it's going to be flying for more than like a few days, he wants to try and repair this thing while it's traveling.
All right. So, Pharaoh, the shield seemed to be getting emitted from like a small gem that was within the crystals of a small crystal within the carapace of the aliens. So you're able to remove each of these gems, and they look like garnets, which is a fairly opaque, rather ordinary-looking red gem. But they aren't a garnet. They're like nothing you've ever seen before. You might if you have any sort of expertise with gem cutting, you could make a check regarding that. Otherwise, it's probably an investigation, maybe.
It'll just be an investigation, even then. This is a.
Nature, perhaps. Yeah, cool. So you ascertain that this is like no other gem that you've ever seen before. But when you feel it, you get a sense of a great expanse. You get a sense of eternity. You get a sense of thoughts that roll on forever, throughout space and time, before they converge into a single place where they are gathered.
That's weird. She will point this out to the wizards, and is she able to utilize them?
It doesn't have any activation that you are aware of.
Okay. And then, last but not least, you said they have guns?
That's right. The different guns have like a coloured light towards the edge of the barrel that green for acid, red for fire, and blue for frost.
Just gonna get a fire one.
There's no buttons to activate it, no trigger, no reloading mechanism. It's more or less a weird shaped wand.
She flicks the wand. Does it?
Hey, watch where you're pointing that thing. Holy shit.
While you're flicking yours, Kevier grabs his and fucking bashes it against the wall, and then looks in the barrel, and looks straight down the barrel.
No way they can fit that much acid in here. Where is it?
It's not working.
Valeria is completely taken, like, just confused as fuck by what's going on right now.
You two, gather them up. We'll take them back with us. You there? Your name was Valeria, was it?
Yes.
I'm Sanj. It's a pleasure. Do you have any experience flying this thing?
Yes and no. I am the one who got it in this state, mostly.
The long story short, we're think of it as like a floating island through this place. We're based in like a ruined city from Waterdeep. Perhaps you've heard of it. My point being, my associate here wants to get the ship back. I do too. But it might take a matter of days. We're thinking fast repairs. If you can fly us back, perhaps we can talk when we return.
Lucius starts like kicking the side of the throne, like, come on, work, goddammit!
He does it.
If you value this ship at all, I would not recommend having me fly it. It was not exactly a high thing on my priorities.
I'm great at driving shit. I could do it.
I know
I have
what
proficiency in land vehicles.
land
Yeah.
vehicles is not a spelljammer. I'm gonna
But,
start
but that's what we
casting.
want to do, right? We want to land this vehicle. That's perfect.
Yeah, it's my
I'm
specialty.
Okay,
I'm gonna
Wash,
start-
just
I'm
calm
gonna
down.
start casting Identify on the throne, because the Identify spell is meant to tell you how to use a
Here,
magical item.
take the tuning fork. It'll just cast. You don't have to ritual cast or anything.
Okay, I'll use that, and then Tink, identify the throne.
Well, we have rules for spelljammers somewhere in some other campaign. They're not here at the moment. But it's yeah. Yeah,
Is it
yeah.
the rules that you wrote yourself, or the ones that they introduced with I know there's a magic item in Undermountain, but I've seen the actual item itself.
Oh, okay. No, it's not that one. It's something that we did years ago. We've had a few stellar campaigns in 5e. I think I've explained the fundamentals of it anyway prior to this. Basically, it works
Spells
off
go
spell
in.
slots. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And you use that to determine your trajectory, your speed, and a whole host of other facilities that probably aren't available right now, and almost certainly aren't your priority, although they may be. Things like air purification, fire extinguishing, regeneration of the ship's own matter. The ships can rebuild themselves through converted spell energy. There's a lot of things you can do. But right now, you probably just want to bring it under control.
Is there an interface
Yeah.
of sorts? Like I'm just gonna jam my hand on it and go, okay, expeditious retreat, boom, straight into the deck.
Unfortunately, Lucius is the interface at the moment.
Okay.
And it doesn't
Oh, I see.
require
Oh,
attunement
so you're
in
on
that.
the throne, and okay, sure.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
And you can swap between different.
Give me a turn. Is it my turn yet?
captains.
Come on.
Exactly.
Hang on,
Hurry up!
Sarge, let me stabilize.
And so
how much?
traditionally, captains will get things on a safe trajectory before they do the swap over, right? So that things will get smooth. You don't change ships. You don't change stations while you're about to land.
First thing I want to work out is how much safe oxygen does it appear the ship still has?
Keviak, by the way, has found the command word, the guns.
I thought so.
How much oxygen does it have? It has probably about. Maybe roll 10d10. Roll 10d10.
Alright, is this hours, minutes, or seconds?
Milliseconds.
It has 55 days worth of oxygen, but that's one person days. With 5 people, like we have, that's 11 days.
Alright, I'll look up in Sanj and I'll say 55 days worth of oxygen here for one person, 11 for the 5 of us.
We're not leaving you on the Spelljammer for 55 days to make your repairs and then fly it back. I'll give you the tip.
Well, how about while I'm trying
No.
to stabilize this, you head up to the top deck and try and work out how to operate them smaller fighter craft type of things.
I suppose there was a liquid membrane in the ship, wasn't there? Okay, interesting.
Yeah, that seems much more your kind of fishman style than me. You know?
Noted.
A pool of liquid for Sanj and a throne for Lucius.
Keeps your skin moist while you're flying, you know.
That does sound,
Valyria will. Go ahead.
does sound tempting. Sorry, you go.
Valyria will look down to the tiny ball of light inside her silver cage, and I'll use the Quarry Soul aspect of the soul cage, which I'm trying to link, but it's not working out. Basically, it has to answer truthfully, but it's short. It's like 1 or 2 sentences, and it could be cryptic. But it can only answer what it knows in life. I'll ask it, do you know how to fly the ship you were boarding, or the insectoid? Oh no, I don't know that information. Fuck. I'll just go with the first part of the question.
The hive mind knows all.
How would you save the ship?
We would strip the ship, take the spell jamming helm, and return it to the colony.
Okay. Probably information you guys already know out of character or in character, but I don't know that. This bug creature says the helm is the only thing of value on the ship. I'm not sure if that's helpful, but
Why don't we take the Why don't we take that then alone?
Well, hang on. Can I figure out how to stabilize it now that I've attuned to it and everything?
How many? What spells you got? What spell slots?
My highest remaining, I've got a 5th level slot. I was also going to ask what I linked there is that magic item. How different from your rules is it there?
Let me see.
I like the song.
Peaky Blinders, baby.
Because I'm thinking,
I think it's
Lucius,
good.
I could channel like a fire elemental into it, give us some propulsion, give us a
Hmm.
like have a teleport
It's so
remaining
much-
as well.
They stole my rules.
I'm guessing you based your rules off of the actual, like the old Spelljammer rules.
No, I made them up completely. I've never read any of the spelljamming manuals. I know spelljammer as a setting. I never had any of the books.
You don't have like anyone sneakily called JC in any of your games, do you?
Probably do. Yeah, it's something similar to that. Mine are a lot more complex though. They function of a but that is definitely fundamentally it. It's certainly all we need for now. Mine kind of work off the 4 elements though, and so different gems can, like an air gem provides air, whereas an earth gem does things like fix the hull of the ship, stuff like that.
So
Yeah.
then what would the quadrock do? As I procure it from my pouch.
Yeah, the quadrock is a spell jamming helm.
Oh. Oh.
Or at least it's 1/4 of one, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So if you can think of the spell jamming helm, a throne, as being the central processing unit, you've
yeah.
got a graphics card.
Sure.
You don't need it, but it helps.
All right, we're getting ahead of ourselves here. I will first try and stop the free spinning of the.
And you use a 5th
Spelljammer.
level spell slot.
Oh, it does it does it use the spell slots?
You don't. The short answer is yes. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'll do it. I'm probably gonna have to
Alright.
switch with Sanj after a few things though.
You bring it under complete control. The 5th level spell slot is more than enough to basically for you to realize that it's only spinning because you believe it's spinning. If you stop believing it's spinning, it'll stop spinning because there is no gravity, it's metaphysical gravity, and you're only imagining that it's out of control. So just bring it under control. 5th level spell slot, more than enough. Like that's a lot of magical energy. People can study magic for 100 years and never reach that amount of energy that you've just casually channeled. You bring it under complete control.
So it's like I've accidentally hit the nitrous button. Like, oh, this should stabilize things.
Maybe it's more like instead of pressing Control Alt Delete, you went outside and switched off the mains power.
Yeah, okay,
Like,
okay.
let's reset our computer. Okay, well, I'll terminate the electrical grid. Okay, now we can reboot our
Just
computer.
drop an EMP on the city.
Yeah.
I will lower it to the standard of next trying to use perhaps a 2nd level slot to try and move it in the direction of Alterel.
It moves you at a relatively modest pace, not a snail's pace, but a little bit faster than a snail.
And that is still slower than Elturel itself?
It's sailing speed, and well, yes and no. See, Elturel's only moving as fast as it thinks it's moving, so it's really not moving at all. Elturel just thinks it's moving. It's really a fixed place in time and space, but everyone thinks everything's out of control, so it is. You're able to drift towards it, but you are going at a sailing pace. It will take a long time to reach, several days perhaps. But you won't lose track of Elturel. It's just too big. It's the biggest. It's the biggest ball of rock anywhere until you start passing on through planetoids.
Well, Sanj, I believe I've got this under control. Do you want us to drift slowly towards Elturel or get there in a hurry?
I suppose it doesn't matter either way, as long as it's in sight. But we should aim to gain on it. I think it wise to approach quickly.
Quickly? Alright.
The sooner we arrive, the sooner we can examine this thing and speak with our newfound companion here.
I will increase the speed a little bit by putting a 3rd level slot into it.
It works, and yeah, you go from a sailing speed to cruising speed, and you will expect to catch back up with it to Elturel. We can use the concept of saying 36 hours, but by now you might be realizing that such designations are pointless.
Yeah, but it'll shorten the time enough.
It will. It will. It'll seem shorter in your mind anyway.
Look, here, I'm thinking, Sanj, we can repair this a little bit, and if you want to get back to Elturel in a hurry, we can perhaps long rest here and then either speed this thing up or someone can teleport everyone over there in the morning.
Well, I don't mind either way. I think whatever is most practical, I think, is the route that we should take.
Is the telepathic spell still going?
Oh, I cast that as we left in the morning. Lasts an hour. I imagine probably not.
Probably
Not an
not,
hour,
yeah.
no.
But Adrastea is over there.
I have no way of contacting her either.
I can cast sending.
Don't we have a telepathic link?
Not anymore.
Yeah, I think it ran out because it would have been more than an hour. Yeah, I'll cast sending to Adrastea. What do you want me to tell her, Sanj? Are we gonna wait it out for the day and a half or so to catch up, or are you gonna teleport everyone over there in the morning?
If I teleport us in the morning, are we able to take the ship with us? I don't understand. Like, are we planning on getting this thing back to Elturel?
I plan on fixing this thing up as much as I can over the next 36 hours.
I see. So you're staying here regardless, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I plan that way.
I see. Okay, well...
But I mean, Elturel is in. We can see it. So if you want to teleport everyone else over there to meet up with Adrastea,
then
basically, then it'd be 24 hours between you arriving and me arriving.
as long as you're aware of the fact that you're essentially a floating pile of junk with a spelljammer on there.
I mean, I've got the ability to return myself to the material plane if the worst case scenario happens. Not to mention, I can just prepare teleport myself, so if the ship explodes, I'll just teleport over to Elturel.
Okay. Alright, we'll do that then. We'll teleport in the morning. Let Adrastea know. In the morning? I don't know.
Alright, I will... Once you've had time to recharge your magic.
Yeah, I suppose that's the most appropriate thing to say, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, so I will sending to Adrastea. Slight delays, repairing ship. Sanj will return in 8 hours after a rest.
Right. I guess at this point I'm being fed grapes by one of Sanj's unseen servants. So
How long was that mansion last?
Mansion is 24 hours.
24 hours, yeah.
It's gonna disappear about halfway through. Yeah.
So suddenly Lucy's voice in my head, and I was like, oh, we're still alive. That's good. Okay, that's fine. Take your time.
Oh, actually, yeah, Sanj, you can try and work out them little flying ships, the smaller ones.
Meantime, yeah,
You
certainly.
might be able to return quicker with them.
All right, I'll just cut to Adrastia. I know this technically probably happens slightly in the future, but still cutting to Adrastia. So you're in this paradise, the mansion, for another set of hours, 12 hours or so, but it doesn't last forever. When the mansion vanishes, you find yourself on this floating rock with terrified people being brought underneath martial law by three opposing sectarian factions. Well, what do you do during this position time of chaos and burning and hopelessness?
Uh, just keep to myself, basically. Find to a part of the city where it seems like there's a little activity, like a crumbled building or a ruin or something like that, and just set up shop there and make it very clear that this is my space, and if anybody tries to invade it, then they're gonna take a crossbow bolt to the throat.
When you
And just basically
see
keep to myself.
hungry citizens, teenagers, 12-year-olds, searching through the rubble for food and picking up the legs of dead dogs and giving them a sniff, do you react?
Watch, I suppose. But I don't even consider giving any of my own food away.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, she's cold-blooded like that.
And when you see some of those etacaps and giant spiders, which didn't have the initiative to jump off when they had the chance, stalking those same children, do you act?
Oh well, that's a different story because I enjoy killing etacaps. So it's less about saving the children and more passing the time. It's alleviating my boredom
I'm just
by killing them.
imagining you on like a front porch in like a rocking chair, like feet up, crossbow out.
So yeah, I happily spend my time hunting down the creatures that are left in the city, but simply for my own amusement, not really to save anybody.
All right. Well, we don't have to go into like the details of rolling because I'm not really confident that a bunch of titans are gonna threaten you. But let's say you see this scene. Our little child has just been crawling through the rubble. She's found some relatively fresh meat. After all, there's not a lot of flies and maggots in Elturel. Um, some in the astral sea, it keeps things relatively well preserved. Maybe I think doesn't nothing deteriorates up here. Actually, that's an observation that you might have made. Make a I won't even worry about the check. But you notice that this girl, she picks up the dead dog's leg and she sniffs it. And the thing about it is it's perfectly preserved. It doesn't show any signs of decay or deterioration at all. Um, Nothing. It's as fresh as it was when the rubble fell on the dog and crushed it in the first place. Probably something to speculate about a little bit later. You've got chitons to hunt. So how do you deal with these spawn of Loth as they stalk this child?
Probably wait until I have a perfect shot. If that means they get close enough to harm the child, then so be it. I want to have the cleanest kills possible.
Okay. Well, they do just that. Using their web ability, they entangle the child and they move extremely fast. And while you can shoot fast, shooting all three is just a little bit too much. So you witness as the creature leaps on the back of the child, bites her into the back of the neck, and almost rips her head clean off. But by the time it's achieved that, how have its two companions died?
I was gonna say, it's a tall order to kill all three in in one turn of combat, but I'm gonna see if I can try.
All
I can
right,
shoot
let's have a
bolt.
go.
Alright, so let's see if I can kill 3 in one turn and prevent that from happening. Just to see whether I can or not.
Well, that's all right. Well, you should certainly not be denied the opportunity.
Alright, so I'd likely be in a dark and shady spot. Or throw
You're in
my
the perfect
maximum.
spot. Yeah. Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah, you would have. Yeah, you got the, as you say, exactly where you want it.
Alright, I'm gonna use wyvern poison on these bolts as well.
All right, going all out.
Yeah, I want to like send a message. Just drop them all within half a second. Alright, so there's 14 on the first one.
That's a hit.
For 24 plus the wyvern poison, which I forget the damage roll for. I have to check.
It will be executed at 7d6.
Oh, okay. Like, should I bother rolling it or not?
You can if you want, but he is dead.
Alright. And the next one. 24
That'll hit.
for just about the same. 24 again.
Executed.
And 21
All right.
for 23.
And it turns out they only ripped away her
22.
dress and the cloth around her neck. It wasn't her throat at all, but just her clothing that was torn to shreds. There's still one alive though, not a Kytine, but the Coldrith, the mistress, the spider, the arachnid monster that directs their actions. She is terrified, and in her terror, she attempts to place you in a position where you can't escape.
Alright.
Old person.
I'll attempt to resist. 22.
She is terrified and does all that she can to flee, but you'll have another round with yet to finish her off before she can escape.
Yeah, I think
2 hits.
I think she's pretty dead to rise.
Maybe. Do you have wyvern poison on these ones as well?
I do not.
Then she will get away. But will you let her get away? 35, 43, 48. She squirms away, leaving a trail of ichor behind her as she crawls through the ruined rubble of the city.
Yeah, I'll let her get away. Why not? She can tell the rest of her kind about what happened and spread some fear among their ranks.
Well, I'm glad to see that you're being amused. If you're not being fed grapes anymore, then you can at least bring the grapes of wrath to your enemies.
Yeah, I'll go and collect some the bolts from the 3 lesser ones that I killed.
All right.
I guess
They're all in perfect
glance
condition.
over at the child.
The child says, "Thank you, thank you. Can I hide with you? I'll give you some food." And she offers you the hairy dog leg.
Just kind of raise an eyebrow. Perhaps for an hour. I'll take her back and keep her company for an hour. But that's about it. I don't plan to take care of her for long.
During the entirety of the hour, she doesn't talk. She occasionally licks her parched lips, and you can see the salt gathering around the edges. After an hour, is it time to go?
It is.
So you push her out?
Well, less push her out, but more go find another spot. She can have my spot if she wants.
Alright.
Well, if it's any consolation, the spot that I would have claimed would be quite secure, so it's a pretty decent spot to hide.
Good point. She goes and accesses the small water source of a little reservoir of fresh water that you found. Maybe a bathtub that was full at the time of Elturel's destruction.
Perhaps.
All right. I shall take a short break, and when we come back, amid the chaos of returning our Spelljammer to our comet, yes, this is D&D, Sanj can roll a D1000.
A D1000. Here it is, guys. Another Kraken.
Please don't.
Oh, I'm
Give me a
pretty sure that
second.
is so close.
Oh,
I
Is
am
it
actually
400?
so sure that is so fucking close.
Let's go back.
I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it was like 467 or something.
I swear to if you encounter another Kraken right when we finish our long rest, and I have to save the day like a fucking legend again,
Do it again.
Fuck, I will never forgive you.
But you can't do that twice. Who would you drop it on this time, though? Or would you just give
The-
Zental keep 2 Krakens for it?
actually I could do it twice because my last 2 portents were a 5
It was
and a 10.
447.
447. Okay. Oh.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
still pretty fucking close.
Yeah,
Out of
And see-
1,000, like, really?
And see, Keviak, I feel like there's something I need to let you in on. There's something that me, Christina, and Arctic all realized after that last game,
Ah.
and that's that plan shift when used offensively, the location is random.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
So,
Yeah.
we don't know where that Kraken ended up.
Oh. Man, how would you even like determine that as a DM? I'm not sure.
the DM
It'd be a
does.
roll.
Yeah, right.
It ends up in the least convenient spot for you. That's how you
Well,
decide.
it's
The bottom
it
of
is,
Troll
it is
Skull Manor.
random. If it is random, so if I was the DM, I'd probably roll a 1d1000, and the lower the result is, the worse it is for the party.
I'd roll a 1d1 trillion for every theoretical place in the multi.
Yeah. What about every
Well,
every
on
point
the
Sword
material
Coast?
plane, because I sent it to the material plane, and the material plane is not just the Sword Coast; it is all of Faerun, all of Karatur, all of Maztica, and all of that fourth continent as well.
Yeah, but you know when we get back, they're gonna be like, somebody teleported an actual Kraken right into the middle of a meeting of the Hidden Lord. And they're all dead.
When you plane shift a Kraken, you're ruining somebody's day somewhere,
Yeah.
sometime.
You would
That's-
just
that's
fucked up
what-
somebody's entire world.
That's
But
what
for
Arctic
me,
said.
it was
It doesn't matter
Tuesday.
where it went; somebody's having a really bad day.
Yeah, man.
Arctic
like
went
how-
radio silent as soon as that roll was made. That can't be good.
I think he just left because he said he was going to be right back.
Ah.
I like how Sanj's and Lucius's what's the word I'm looking for? Focus, tunnel vision for technology is so great that they just ignore the fucking like random bitch in the middle of space by herself that is getting invaded by aliens. Basically.
Look, I mean, it's like, yeah, we can have that conversation, but we've been trying to get our hands on an airship for quite some time. This is a Spelljammer that's in working condition.
No, I
like,
get it. I understand, but I like that your character is like so tunnel vision on it. Like, just fuck everything else. I'm focused on.
Lucius is like, hey, Farah and Caveat can talk to the girl. It's like, yeah, me and Sanji got some work to do, you know. Caveat, make a new friend. But yeah, no,
You know
it's
me.
that's pretty much summed
Diplomat.
up the campaign. Lucius and Sanj tunnel visioning on technology.
So you guys
And then we're
actually have
just playing
cloning
with the
vets?
guns.
Yeah,
We have what?
cloning vets.
Farrah,
Yeah,
Farrah
we've
told
got
her about the
two-
cloning vat.
So we've got 2 human cloning vats, and they're not the 5e clone spell. They make literal clones of you with their own sentience and everything. basically they will clone you at the state that you've got to put a cubic inch of flesh in, and the clone will come out as a sentient, self-aware being that is 2 levels lower than you at the point where you put the flesh in. But we've also got an aberration cloning vat to make beholders and stuff.
Is it hostile, friendly?
Don't know. We haven't actually finished any of the vats yet.
Probably hostile.
So I believe, because I think I've put in one cloning vat, but no one else wanted to use one. Like Sanj is all like, I don't know if I want another of me in the universe, and Lucius is just like, more Lucius is exactly what the multiverse needs.
There need only be one Sanj.
Nope.
There can be
So I
only
believe
one.
by the time we return from hell, the first clone of Lucius should be ready. And I mean, if no one else wants to use the cloning vats after that, I might as well just make a cabal of Luciuses. Like the Illuminati, but it's all Lucius.
The Lucius Council.
They all
Well, where's
sit
the
around
water,
the
dude?
table and agree with each other. And compliment each other.
We shake each other's hands.
That's a wonderful idea. You're so smart. Yes, I am so smart. You're also so smart because we've got the same intelligence.
You're intelligent. That's the smartest thing you've ever said.
All right, Arctic, tell us a story.
Yeah. Well, that's. I don't actually have one D1000 table. I actually have two, and so I'm able to look at both of them and see which one is most appropriate.
You mean that an astral kraken was the most appropriate out of 2 options?
It was. I can't even remember what the other one was at this stage. I think the other one was an entire world. Yeah, the other one I'm pretty sure was an entire world. And I was like, well, we're not going to go there. So.
Oh god.
That's not exactly true, though. I determine whether we're in the shallows or the depths, and I roll appropriately. And so far, I've been sticking to the rules. However, in this case, it's the same roll on both tables. So, well, it's a bit odd. It's a bit of an odd encounter, but we'll wait for that. So you've managed to recharge your magical energy, recharge your mana, and you're all ready to become the newest captains of the Astral Sea.
I just prepare some spells here as well.
Just out of curiosity, how long does it take them to do whatever they're doing up until this point from when we finish killing Bug?
We'll say about 10 hours.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I think that all they really wanted to do was have a long rest. I'm pretty sure that was the next objective, right? Long resting?
Yeah, basically, it was impossible for us to get back there without long resting.
Yeah.
Because we would need to either teleport or speed the ship up with higher level spell slots.
So you've basically stabilized the vessel and sent it into a cruising speed towards the destination of El Terrell. It'll keep cruising there and we'll get there eventually. Now you've rested up. It's about 10 hours, maybe 8, maybe 12. It's hard to tell since there's no sun. And you're fully rested and recharged, and probably have made some light repairs of the vessel, but things are virtually the way they were.
So Sanj, what I'm thinking is I'm gonna stay here and see if I can drive some kind of self-repair capacity. Because you said when I was inspecting it that it has other functions that may or may not be working at this point in time.
Correct.
So I'll want to try and work out if it's got some kind of self-repair that can be powered with higher level spell slots.
It will need an emerald. It will need an emerald of at least 1,000 gold pieces inserted into its main frame.
Emerald. I have sapphires and rubies worth over 1,000 gold, but I think I got an emerald. What effect would rubies and sapphires have?
Rubies they're the fire gems, and sapphires the water gems. Sapphires are particularly useful in fluidity, such as motion, so you can get a lot more speed. A ruby is more likely to provide weapon systems and defenses like shields.
Okay. So without a emerald, it's not possible to run automatic repairs, and we'd have to do it
No.
manually.
That's right.
Ah. Well, either way, if it's been 10 hours, it should be just under 24 for the ship to catch up with Alterel. Do you want to... Oh, God, Keviak. Do you want to teleport everyone over there, and I'll keep this going and do some repairs myself in the meantime?
Oh, did you finally read the chat?
Yeah.
Yes, it sounds like a brilliant idea. Heavy X says this over the telepathic chat. Just sends out a vision of 30 Lucius just fucking in like eyes wide shut mess.
And then Farah like tries to close her eyes. It's not
What
working.
is behind your eyes?
This was telepathically you guys are having this conversation?
I don't think there is a telepathic bond. I haven't set one up.
Okay.
Ah.
Yeah, it probably wore off. Damn.
No,
Over-
you'd probably still say it just out loud.
Yeah, probably.
Over where? I'm sorry, is this the floating city in space?
Yeah, if
Correct.
you look out in the horizon, it's a few miles ahead of us in that direction.
Over on your left, you'll see Elturel.
I don't encourage you to read this, but I just imported the old rules. I haven't read them. I don't know if they're any good.
I will have a look at them anyway.
Alright, so what? Onward to Elturel. Am I teleporting everybody? And we'll see you in what? Like 18 hours, Lucius?
Yeah, I'll get about to repairing, because that's kind of my specialty here is craftsmanship.
Listen,
I'll get about to repairing and doing
Get-
what I can to fix this thing up.
get yourself out if you find yourself in a spot of bother, alright? You're good at that.
No shit.
Good. I'm just making sure that you do it. Don't do anything stupid just for the ship.
Oh, don't worry about me. I'm perfectly capable of looking after myself. At least in that regard, it's almost an inconvenience to have so many people on board, because if something does go wrong, I can get myself out of here, but the rest of you might be in a fair bit of trouble.
A smile. Well, you heard the man. And I'll teleport all of us except for Lucius back to Elturel if I can. So I've got my photographic memory. I know the room that I established the mansion in initially. So I'm just going to go right there.
All right.
If
Unfortunately, time has passed differently here,
Okay.
and your mansion is no longer there.
No, is it
But
the-
you
the ro-
arrive in the spot where it should be.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, that's great.
So yeah, while they're doing that, Lucius is basically going to spend the next day or so dismantling things that appear to be like non-important, like walls between rooms and stuff, like any interior rooms, and using the spare material from that to try and patch the holes.
All right. You're a fabricator, so are you? Do you have any sort of magic in that regard?
Yeah, I do. I got fabrication and creation, but I've also got proficiency in smith tools and tinker's tools.
Yeah. Like yeah, you're as far as wizards go, you're quite the handyman. So,
Yeah, Lucius as a character was designed to be an artificer, but they never released
Yeah.
artificer on time, so I was just like, fuck it, I'll do it as a wizard.
Yeah, no worries. And so you'll be busy for some time. Fortunately, due to you won't be bothered on your ship.
I've got like half a dozen 1,000 gold rubies on board, so I figure now that I've figured out they power these shields and weapons, you know.
Cool.
If
So you've
anything
got
does
like a shield
happen,
activated?
not yet. But like, if something does happen, he's just gonna pump some rubies in.
Perfect. Okay, cool. That's great. All right. So, meanwhile, back on Elturel, things are chaotic, but if anything, they've settled down. Um, People have started to become accustomed to the chaos. Um, they fear the worst, but now it seems that the cult of Zariel has a bit of a following. People are following them throughout the streets, proclaiming the doom of Elturel and that Zariel is their only savior. Meanwhile, the paladins are attempting to override that by asking people to come to the chapel, to the cathedral, where we can sing hymns and listen to music and be reminded of the God's protection. And the Flaming Fist are just trying to more or less ignore them both and exert what authority they can over a city in freefall.
If Adrastia isn't present, I will use the sending spell to contact her.
All right, Adrastia, you are contacted. You have just hunted down one of those, or assume that you hunt down one of those brain dogs, or rather, what do you do when you see a brain dog?
Kill it immediately.
Exactly. So you have just hunted down a brain dog when Sanj contacts you.
Right, I guess I'll be standing with my foot on its giant brain of a body and yank a bolt out of it when I hear his voice.
Perfect.
We have returned. Meet us back at the room.
Oh, already? Fine. Sure enough, I will begin to make my way back.
As you're making your way back, Adrastia, you see a man who says, "That was incredible. I've never seen such deft skill. You must be Baldur's Gate's best assassin."
Just kind of lift an eyebrow at that.
He's a handsome
Well,
man with dusky hair and dusky skin. His eyes appear innocent. His muscles in good symmetry. Um, but he's just looking at you with such fascination. Well, I shouldn't have interrupted you. Sorry. What was your reply?
I was gonna say, it's quite the compliment. But what is it that you want?
I I want to learn. I want to learn how to hunt like you. If I could have just an ounce of your skill, it must have taken you centuries to get that good.
Well, it did.
Uh, if you may, I am Duncana. I would love to study under you. If you could show me anything, uh, I would. I would like to be a better man, a better hunter.
Sorry, I'm not a teacher. If you want to learn these things, you'll have to learn them yourself.
I, 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 I've never met a woman like you. He gets down on one knee and produces a diamond ring. Please marry me.
Just stand there in stunned shock for a few moments and then step forward while he's on one knee and kick him in the face.
Oh,
Absolutely not. Who do you think you are?
I'm Duncana. I'm the man whose destiny it is for you to marry.
You level my crossbow at him, like, get out of
Smooth.
here right now. You have 5 seconds.
I would rather
5,
die than live without you.
4,
Oh my god.
3,
Oh,
2,
this guy's gonna.
1.
I love you.
I'll shoot him in the leg just because I pity him.
Ah.
You really pitied him. You put him out of his misery.
He groans, but then he stops groaning. Stoically, he grabs the bolt and pulls it out and offers it back to you.
This man is insane.
Just raising yet another eyebrow, just in total shock at this man's insanity. You can keep that if you wish, but unless you want another one, I suggest you leave.
Give me another.
This guy's
Oh my
a
god, he's a
masochist.
Lovetarian.
Just kneecap him in the other knee so he can't follow you at least.
Is there anybody watching right now?
Maybe a dog.
Then I shoot him in the head.
All right, bam. Your crossbow gets into his head. It lodges about half an inch in, and he hits the ground and begins to bleed. He makes no further moves.
I just shake my head. I just insane fool, and then just leave.
All right.
Neutral evil. Sorry.
Adrastia has
Okay.
returned.
I go AFK for a second, and Adrasty is executing some poor bastard.
Well, he said he loved her, so the man was crazy.
Ah, for the first time that's happened.
Yeah, being pretty lenient too. Like even gave him a warning
Fair
shot in the
warning.
leg.
You gave him
Yeah,
you gave him the
but sometimes
countdown
when
as
a
well,
man
man.
gets
Like,
the
that's-
drow fever, there's nothing to help.
Y'all know what it's like. Y'all got dry fever.
Dwarves are immune to it. We're resistant to disease.
That's right. They're never gonna grow a beard. You're never gonna want to.
Exactly. All dwarves will have beards and wear 12 layers of clothing. Gender is more or less optional.
Very cool. She has returned.
I'm clearly visibly angry.
wary of this. Is everything all right?
Everything's fine, Sanj. What do you want?
Well, we're back. Lucius has stayed on board the ship that we found. Should return within a matter of maybe 12 to 18 hours. And this is someone responsible for the swift execution of a whole bunch of Zentarum. And I kind of gesture towards Valyria in the room.
I give Andraste, is that how you pronounce it? Andraste?
Adrastia, yeah.
I give her a curt nod, but there's a bit of a sour look to Valeria's face, probably one you've seen many times before since you're a dark.
Yeah, perhaps not as sour as the one I have on my face.
Yeah.
My jaw drops. Like, can this day get any worse?
I just knew you two would get along just great.
I just stomp my foot furiously and storm off to find a quiet place to be alone so I don't kill people.
Sarah's like standing in between them, looking like back and forth, just cautiously. This day has been wonderful.
As I'm storming off, I'm mumbling and cursing as my breath. Another fucking half-breed, god damn it.
Valeria, you'll have to forgive her. She's a bit uptight sometimes.
Racist.
Uptight sometimes.
Forgive her for what?
Racist is actually pretty accurate.
I know. I know.
Nothing different from her kind?
Mm.
Are we going to have the conversation now, or am I going to wait for you to further inspect the ship?
Oh, Lucius won't be back for a while, so we can talk. Yeah. What's the gig?
There's also another half Drow in our party. He's not feeling too well right now, so he's just in one of the extra rooms.
So you were responsible for the execution of all those Zentarum staff, sailors, pilots.
I
etc.
was.
What's the gig? Why?
The gig. Why?
You're clearly not
What's
Zentarum.
the deal
have
with
have you
killing
met
all those
have you
Zentarum?
met a Zentarum before?
I used to be
Pick
one.
a reason. She takes another quick glance at everybody and kind of takes a half step back, getting more guarded.
Used to. So did he. I point to the little tank that is Keviak next to me. Used to. We have no love for
And
them
you
either.
ended. What caused your premature ending of the relationship?
I
If you
would.
don't mind me asking.
No, that's fine. No, of course, and I'll tell you true. because
Mostly
I've-
they was cunts.
Mostly, yeah. Keviak puts it quite eloquently. I was working closely under a fellow by the name of Manchun. Turns out he's, well, as Keviak puts it, a cunt. So I turned away from their organization after learning they were a bit more,
Kanti,
a bit less
than
tasteful.
you expected?
Well, yeah, sure.
They also had their fair share of killing. Fair like perks up. They killed tons of Zentarum soldiers and this Death Knight, was it? When you were in Mintarn. So
For how long?
Mintarn is now essentially its own free state.
Well, not
Now
exactly.
because of them.
I still have the Red Rage to worry about, but free from Zentarum control, sure.
It's always been the Red Rages.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's got a reasonable tax demand, you know.
Valyria lets out a long sigh of a little bit more easy. Well, then you ought to be congratulated. Any blow to the Black Network is one worth celebrating.
And I got this fancy sword out of the deal. Check this bitch out.
And
He
you
like
can
holds
see
up
that
the Iron Conqueror all proud.
Oh, that was
it's the real deal. You would recognize that weapon. You spent some time in Mintarn, and so you would have seen the Hylar, the immortal of Mintarn, a naval captain who allegedly could never die. Well, they've got his sword, so that's pretty much about as good as killing an immortal guy can be, I suppose.
Her eyes kind of widen at that. I see. Well, as you say, the Zentarum do their fair share of killing, as have your friends. Let us leave it at that as to my purpose for killing them.
Of course. I appreciate and respect that, for sure. Though I'll have you know now, our current journey isn't as pleasant. I fear we are destined somewhere far worse. And it is Zentarum
Your
Fortress.
journey to...
Well, you might be familiar with the Duchess of Daggerford, Lady Morwen, a court wizard, my father. They're being held in, I believe, Avernus.
Avernus?
I believe that is the prison lair of hell, I think.
Yes, I'm familiar. And you are headed there purposefully?
Unintentionally,
purpose, that
but
is.
it would appear that a nefarious cult dedicated to Zariel is here in Elturel as well. It's all a bit strange, and that's essentially why we're here at the moment. But I think the enemy of the enemy is my friend.
But you intend to do what in Avernus exactly? I'm sorry?
Oh, free them, of course. Rescue them, release them. And then return.
Any destination specifically? Avernus is quite a large place.
There are important key figures we're aware of that might have closer information. More detailed information. Better leads, of course.
We have got a name of the location, remember? It's a living labyrinth.
Oh, that's
and
right.
Lucius has told Sanj that.
Yeah. Thanks.
There's a brief, like, millisecond of kind of realization when you say the name, and she tries to hide it. That kind of like startled half second. I see. Believe it or not, I have my own goals within Avernus. If you were seeking a blade at your side, I could perhaps assist. At the very least, it's one more person between you and the fiends that reside there.
Would you tell us of your goals in Avernus? Or is that another closely guarded secret?
I, like you, have contacts there.
Sanj cocks an eyebrow, but extends his hand.
She looks at it, and for a moment it looks like she's not going to grasp it, but she does.
Very good.
Excellent. Then for the time, you have my assistance. As long as you don't stab me in the back, we won't have any issues.
Great. Perfect. Right. Well, I suppose our next move is to find somewhere to lay low. I cannot establish a mansion for today. Dressia probably knows all the good spots, but alas, she's pissed, so perhaps I'll just set up a tiny dome in this room.
Could always just pick a house we like.
I suppose you're right.
As
What are they
long
gonna
as there's
call the
no one
cop?
in it. No, I am not sleeping in someone's occupied house.
Well, we unoccupy it first.
Time and a place, Keviak. Time and a place.
You said there
Fine,
was a cult
fine.
within the city? They are still active here,
It is. It's.
even in its current state?
It is an interesting sort of development, I think. We know the group of them are dedicated to Zariel, but Zariel appears, well, thematically kind of centered around all of what's happened here in Elturel.
At this, Farah is getting like really agitated. All this talk now.
I have my suspicions that if anyone is going to turncoat when we arrive at our destination, it
will be them.
it's likely going to be them. And for the record, anyone that has signed that damn fucking book.
And how is the dynamic here in the city with them?
Chaotic. No one is prepared to ally themselves with the other for fear of wanting to be looked at as weak or insubordinate. Everyone vies for leadership. It is a classic human attribute.
And how are the common people?
Dead, a mess, amok.
Do they follow anyone in particular?
To answer that, looking around outside, things have changed in your absence in the time that you've been gone. Things have become more tribal. The Apocalypse cult, the Zariel worshippers, seem to be growing in number. They are a very large sector of the population, but they are growing. There are quite a few, maybe up to a quarter, are seeking the protection of the Flaming Fists specifically. But the Flaming Fists are basing themselves near the Paladins of Elturel anyway. And it seems that most of them are congregating with the Paladins of Elturel. So, in number terms, roughly half of them are looking to the Paladins for leadership. Roughly a quarter of them are looking to the Flaming Fist. Maybe are following the cult of Zariel, and that leaves still a fairly large portion of the population that go on their own.
And this is fairly evident from just kind of walking around the city or looking outside,
Correct.
even to someone like Valeria who hasn't been here.
Yeah, that's right. But over a course of between 10 minutes and more likely probably about an hour, you would be able to gauge that kind of insight.
Okay. So, did you have an idea on where to stay? I believe I cut off the conversation earlier. I just kind of looked towards Lucius as he Lucius Sanj, as he seems to be leader at the moment, at least from Valeria's perspective.
I'm able to establish a tiny hut that will offer some modicum of protection. But as for anything Is there anything to do with practical, a practical place to stay? Our best bet would probably be to ask Adrastia, as she's been here while we haven't, and likely has a better lay of the land. Alternatively, this room is just fine. I can set the tiny hut up whenever. But it's a matter of what we have to do between now. We just don't know how long it's going to take us, and we could be here for a while.
I honestly got some concerns about them Zariel worship.
Mm.
Now,
go ahead.
I like to distinguish between religious types and cults, makes deciding who to kill easier. And them Zariels are definitely seeming like a cult.
Of course.
Think if we burn that book of theirs, it might do anything.
I have a funny feeling a contract like that, binding body and soul, would run deeper than ink on paper. In much the same
Should we
way,
maybe
I don't think a bloodshed would
steal
work
it
either.
so they don't. Should we maybe steal it so they don't keep signing it at least?
We should do something to stop them. They're making me uneasy.
Yeah, I don't like the idea that they're going around recruiting all these terrified, helpless folk.
Shall we wait for Lucius to return before we make a decision? Should we act now?
Probably don't want to go half-cocked. How long is he gonna be?
I think it was roughly
Hard
like
to say.
half a day to a day, maybe.
Well,
was our
yeah.
estimate.
my
Wait
my
for a moment.
homunculus has got left on Elturel. It's probably in the it was probably in the room where the mansion was, and where it would be. I'll probably, because I didn't mention it previously, but we didn't bring it to the Spelljammer. Whereabouts would that be, Arctic? Because I would have just left it to keep an eye on Elturel. Probably follow the party around, and if it's all right for that to be there, it'll probably kind of scratch in the dirt. If you want to do it, go ahead.
Apologize, I was a different page and it's caused me to have a bit of a spike. You're trying to use your homunculus for what?
Well, so I'd never brought my homunculus with me. I couldn't do it through a dimension door. So it was
Yeah.
left in Elturel. Is it fine for that to be with the party still? Because that is a
Yeah.
form of communication. Yeah.
You can find the
that's-
party with it.
Yeah. If that's the case, the homunculus will kind of scratch in the dirt. If you want to go ahead, don't wait up for me.
Then it's a
At
matter
least
of, it's a matter of what do we
start investigating. Yeah.
do?
Right. We're going stealthy investigation. Kiviak's gonna take off his arm.
I didn't realize that was actually possible.
Yeah, I know. It's like a kid with a new toy. Like you haven't seen him without it since he stripped it off his clone's corpse. Like,
I go over to Farah. I take both her hands, and I say, "Thank you for letting me grab your tail. It's appreciated."
Kiviak wolf
She's
whistles at
gonna-
its son.
She's gonna blush and she just kind of mutters, "Anytime. I mean, no problem. Glad I could help."
I nod, turn around. All right.
Kiviak claps him on the back. Way to go, boss. You're in.
Shake my head. So, how do we intend on investigating this cult? What do we do? We obviously can't sign up to it, and that's the only way they'll listen to us. I've spoken to this guy before. We could impersonate paladins that are already members of the cult using magic. We could... That's... about it from me, to be honest. Do we have any ideas? Shall we wait?
Farrah punches Keviak in his one moment of vulnerability.
No
It's
pun.
not like really hard. She doesn't even like if it's like damage, it's like 1 HP. Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
I'm more curious to know if Kaviak hasn't taken the armor off in like it's been probably like a year
Ew,
again
don't
since he
bring it
got
up.
it.
Ew, ew.
What's the smell like? Like, did he just knock out half of Elturel?
There
You
is
should-
there is
you
no
should smell
Elturel.
inside his bag of holding. I'm gonna count the number of body parts I have in there.
You
Christ, I
because you
still have King Malair's arm on my character sheet.
Oh my god.
You have brought entirely new microbes into the astral and have created new life forms that were unknown to the multiverse before now.
You've beaten both wizards.
It's a Keviak Rona virus. Keverona virus.
The coronavirus.
Keviona virus. Yeah, that's good.
That's spreading through the
A
city.
single spore makes its way to an unknown
Everybody-
planet
Makes
in an unknown
look,
region of the
and it makes
and gets
people
blamed
give
at
them
fucking
fits.
Chinese.
Yeah, it gives them fits of rage or bouts of
Yeah.
rage
Everybody
with
shrinks.
exceeding hair growth
Yeah.
and
Everyone-
and a horrible smell every now and then. Oh no, a penchant to drink.
Everyone gets really angry, really small, and really hairy.
Is there a cure?
Just time.
Calming
wears
down.
off. Yeah.
Booze.
The kiss of a dark elf.
I was gonna say if we're gonna go sneaking off somewhere, I should probably wait for Lucius, but I will defer to your better judgment. And she really does mean better judgment to Sam.
Yeah, I think it would be best if we await Lucius's arrival. Perhaps do what we can for the city and the public in the meantime. Wait for him to arrive, perhaps impersonate a group of paladins or even stray folk that are looking to join. I don't know, something like that.
What if we sign the book but just like lied about our name?
What if I signed the book but I crossed my fingers behind my back?
Yeah, foolproof.
That's true. That is how
think-
most demons break contracts.
Do you think that would, like, I don't know. I don't want to try it, but...
Arcana check 25 says that's legit.
Alright, hang on a sec. I'm gonna try more an 8. No, I'm gonna use my inspiration.
It's legit.
I'm doing it.
It's legit, full
Oh, fuck.
legit.
It's full legit. Oh, maybe that is a good idea then. Alright, so I
I
suppose...
love that you get a natural one in an Arcana check. You think that crossing your fingers will get you out of a soul binding?
It's foolproof.
Heard it from a friend of a
As
friend.
Medeus takes your soul to hell. No.
Yeah, yeah.
If you recall, I had my fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Ah!
God damn it, I hate when they pull that shit. Might as well pull a revolving door.
This is why I can never get anything done. Alright.
So, if possible, like you mentioned, there's like a lack of water, right? So I'm gonna try and
There
find
is.
like maybe a small group of people if I can, and I think the Quadrat can
Yeah.
create water. So I'm going to try and do what I can.
Excellent.
Let me just
Those
have a
people
look.
eagerly draw water and up. They're careful not to share.
Smart. Cool. And yeah, completing that, I'll probably just head back to the group and wait for Lucius to return.
Where are you staying these days?
I think we haven't left the building that we had first gone to hire the room to put the mansion in. So I think that's kind
Uh-huh.
of where we've been basing ourselves.
Right. You hired a room in an inn to put a mansion inside the inn.
That's right.
Yeah, of course you did. When you get to the
Economy.
That's right. It's space saving. The Japanese are proud. Um, when you get to the aforementioned inn, you find a man there. He looks like he is quite severely injured, and he wants to know the name of the dark elf.
Upon closer
He's not
inspection,
dead,
does this
Jesus.
guy have a fucking hole in his head?
And a hole in his leg. He has a like a nasty wound in his lower leg, which has been hasn't been bandaged. It needs bandaging, and he still has a bolt lodged in his head, and it's like, I mean, you're smart. You never forget anything. You know Drastia's bolts when you see them.
I now understand why she was so cranky. Although, this can't be her work. She would have absolutely...
She's right over there. Kiviak points her out.
Oh yeah, that's her down there.
Wait, you guys found the ring, right?
Hmm?
Did you find a ring on him?
I think I've
he
just seen
presents the
him.
ring now. What is her name? He asks.
Adrastia. She likes long walks on the beach, roses.
Adrastia, I promise to take you to the beach of roses. I will never love another woman for the rest of my life. Um, you can see, as he gestures towards his head, that we are destined to be together.
Tell her about the beautiful half-drow children you would make. Kiviak whispers from behind.
I cast Sending at Adrastia and say, I can reduce this fellow to a pile of ash. Just say the word.
Just not.
I cast Disintegrate.
We're in the center of the I suppose, I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean, this guy's like walking in with a bolt in his head. This is not natural. I'm going to disintegrate him. The DC is 19.
I thought he was undead.
Sometimes, no matter how much you believe in destiny, you just can't make the truth come true. There is a
There.
pile of ash, and a diamond ring falls to the ground and lands in it, like a cherry on an ice cream.
He dared to step into the spider's web, and unfortunately, she was not impressed. And we all know what happens to male spiders when the female spider is not impressed.
Kiviak
Someone in the inn
looks grievously
screams.
sorrow that Sandra would despond. Sorry to interrupt there.
No, go ahead, say it again. Kiviak,
I
what?
said
No,
Kiviak
no.
like pouts that Sandra would despond.
Clearly some
He's having
foul
a great
magic.
time with that.
Take the ring. Is the ring magical? Sarah says. She goes up behind.
+3 to AC, baby.
This is like a... No, this will be like a Death Ward ring or something.
It has to be.
Ring of wishes.
Absolutely.
Ring of infatuation.
It's not a very good ring of wishes if he died trying to get his wish, but you know.
You know, we had a similar conversation about that earlier, didn't we, Arctic?
Why didn't you pass me that ring?
The people in the inn are just looking at you with shock. Like, some of them are screaming.
Oh, you all saw him. He had a
So-
bolt sticking out of his head. Stranger things have happened around these parts.
That's true, says an old sea dog.
Of course it's true. You bloody saw it.
Yeah, he must have been an undead, Farah says, as she just like looks at Sanj and sure. But I mean, there was an arrow through it and he was still walking.
I've seen a man walk with 3 arrows in his head before during the great orc raids of 62.
I don't believe you.
He drinks his beer quietly.
Thanks for taking care of that pain for me, Sanj. And I'm just so pleased that he's not going to see his face again. It's going to give Sanj 50 platinum.
What?
Just here, take it.
If
Just
I
look
may,
down at the pile of ash, just shaking my head.
I'll identify that ring if I can with that tuning fork.
It is a wedding ring.
Okay, the wedding band with a diamond. Am I
An
able to get
engagement ring, rather.
Okay, sure. Yeah, can I get a sense of worth? I think
Yeah.
I think I have a jeweler's kit on me actually. Hang on a sec.
Yeah.
Jeweler's tools. Yeah.
Alright, yeah, make a jeweler tool check.
Sure. Using which ability would you like?
Probably intelligence.
Sure.
It's sort of an investigation inspection thing, I guess.
So 18.
About 250 gold, yeah.
Sure. All right. Pocket it.
No worries. You have
Nice profit off that
Dankana's
disintegration.
engagement ring.
Just made 750 gold for half a single disintegrate. Reason why she gave you so much because she's pretty confident that disintegrate is a permanent solution.
Unless someone wishes him back to existence.
If I ever get a wish, that's what I'm using it on.
Yeah, I think so.
I wish Duncana was alive and immortal.
I wish Duncana. Never mind.
And couldn't get more than 5 feet away from a Joust.
What a
Just wish that
horrible fate.
Andraste loves him. But
Well,
like,
no,
deep
it's only
inside,
fun
her
if she hates
normal
him.
Personality. Well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like the inside personality still hates him, but like compelled. I don't know.
Oh,
Anyway,
I've been there.
I
Yeah,
have
so-
no mouth and I must scream.
At that point, she'd just point the crossbow at her own head. Just end it.
So roll 3d6 6 times.
I don't
I
want to
think
live on this
Keviak would
planet
have won
anymore.
that time, though.
You get victory, Kevia.
Yeah. For Drastia turns the crossbow on herself, Keviak's like, fuck yeah, my wish worked.
This is an inn, right? Is there any booze on the shelf in this area?
There certainly is.
I assume
Whiskeys
business
and,
isn't operating, right? Or are they still trying to run this inn amidst the turmoil?
Oh, they're still trying to run it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a lot more loose. They are open to negotiation on prices.
Bottle of
but
wine,
it's
5
still-
gold.
Yes, certainly, sir.
Boom, there it is.
They shake as they pour it. Like they spill a little because they're shaking so hard, but they take your gold.
I drink at the bar.
give me wine or I disintegrate you.
They don't know I can only do it once a day. Shh.
Well, I think Farrah's gonna do it inside.
All right.
Oh, come
On
on!
who, sorry?
On if you could do disintegrate once a day.
It's at will.
Yeah.
You
see-
Like,
see-
she just.
You see Sanj like playing with like it looks like a shiny lodestone. Just at the bar while he's drinking, and that's where he would have cast the spell from.
And he still got it, so obviously he can keep casting it, right?
Exactly.
Farrah will not mess with Sanj.
That's definitely how
and
magic works.
That's such good insight. Fucking.
That was hilarious.
It just must be one of them cantrips that has a really high scaling when you get to high levels.
It's like Eldritch Blast, you know? He's probably a warlock. Great old one, obviously.
Okay, she's not that stupid, but.
Oh no, I just realized that guy's dead. But, you know, what if he goes to hell to a furnace and he shows up
absolutely.
again?
I have every suspicion that his soul is bound to that plane, and we'll likely see him again. And
We
he'll.
get to hell,
Wait,
and there's
wait.
a devil following the party around.
Give
See, well, hang on.
Arctic
We're joking.
idea.
For Andraste.
Arctic's playing the long
Do it.
game.
We're joking, but
Yeah.
it's actually gonna happen.
Interdimensional stalker. Christ.
You're close. It's not quite like that.
Aww. Just make it so.
Yeah. I was gonna say there must be more to this because he took a crossbow bolt to the head.
It's
Didn't seem
actually-
very concerned by
It's
it.
actually an illithid that's obsessed with Adrastier, and he's just putting brand dogs in random commoners and sending them to profess his love.
Oh
Does
my
that-
god.
Does that mean like the rest of the colony also kind of loves her, or like, I don't? Or is it like the elder? Does the elder brand at the top is like? Ooh.
The elder brain loves all.
Anyway, yeah, I think we just we would end up waiting for Lucius, I suppose. I don't have anything else that I'd like to
All
do
right.
in the meantime, so I
So
don't know
while-
if you guys want to.
While we'll wait, I'll reflect on something that I didn't cover before. Sanja's inspection of the mantis pods. So they've already been described, kind of like the bat wing with a central Jetson-style chamber filled with I would say flesh-colored fluid, but it's more like the color of weak port, kind of purplish, thin mauve purple, a little bit like the purple here, a little bit.
Can I try and use the quadrock to like control and manipulate that, just to see if it is like a water-based medium?
It is a water-based medium, and so it responds the way seawater or jelly might.
Cool. All right.
However, it's a biotic fluid. It's either alive itself, or it's kind of like blood plasma. You know how blood's made up of individual cells, each of which are basically an organism unto themselves, more or less. That's what this stuff is too. It's a plasma. If you want to think of it as blood, that's not a bad analogy. Although it's much more the consistency of aeroplane jelly. You could it's actually not that thick at all. It's more like a honey style goo that you could submerge yourself in, and it would appear that that's what the targets did.
Does there appear to be any input for that one of those gems that I picked up off this guy's chest?
There is a central console that has a crystal, but it's not like the crystal in your hand.
Okay.
It doesn't radiate magic, interestingly enough.
If I place my hand like on the surface of the liquid, so I don't want to break the tension, just like checking temperature.
It's a cool temperature.
Okay. I'll
Yeah,
actually put my hand into it then.
it's not uncomfortable. It's kind of like the sort of temperature that a tropical fish tank might be, about 25 Celsius.
Okay. Gonna use my shape change feature to turn into an octopus, climb in,
Yeah.
and then once I'm in the liquid, I'll stop concentrating, so I assume my form and comfortably kind of get into this thing's cockpit.
You're able to breathe, even though, like, I know octopus can breathe underwater anyway, but it has a you kind of choke. You would choke on drinking the fluid, but once you've got it in your system, once your lungs fill up with this fluid, you'd be able to breathe the fluid.
Okay, great. And then, okay. So I can breathe, and recalling Lucius's spiel about, powering these things, I'll try and give it a 5th level spell, specifically conjure elemental, water elemental.
Doesn't respond to
Doesn't
the
respond.
spell.
Okay.
Doesn't seem to have any magical charge per se.
Alright. Then that gem, I'm just gonna touch it, just press it.
All right. You feel a connection. You feel a connection that a lesser mind might confuse with a kind of universal consciousness. It's not that at all. Make an insight check. So what feels like a universal consciousness is a hive mind. Rather than attaching yourself to be in tune with all and everything, to become one with the planes or know what the gods know or anything like that. That's not what you're doing, but rather you've touched a transmission beacon that puts you in direct communication with a hive mind on some other world deep within the astral sea.
Assuming the link is telepathic,
Yeah.
I'm going to try and quickly and succinctly regale it with the tale of us defeating the Black Dragon at Borskia Bridge before trying to sever the connection quickly and noping the fuck out of there, because that's scary shit.
You briefly get an image of a world of plains and of seas, and on the plains there are these tall structures that look something like a bee's hive on stilts. And in the water there are the same sort of structures, but they don't have the stilts. They're just built into an aquatic situation. And within these hives there are millions, nay, there are billions of cream.
Creepy. And I'll try and take my hand off the beacon, climb out. I don't think there's any way I can interact with this ship, as I'm not one of them. So.
Not without psionic power.
Fair enough. What an experience.
And that was something that you reflect on. Lucius, you have managed to bring the vessel into a rough position. How are you going to land this baby?
I'm not necessarily going to land it. I'm going to have it match speed with Elturel, and it's going to be below Elturel so that it's not so that there's land mass between it and the companion.
All right.
I don't want to get struck by lightning.
You discover that Elturel is held by invisible chains that remind you of the theory that when you go astrally traveling from your astral projection, your spirit is connected to your body by a long silver cord. That's the theory that it reminds you of when you bump into these invisible chains.
Are the chains tying it to the material plane? Are they coming from where we've come from, or?
No, they are dragging you. Yeah, they're dragging you somewhere.
Is it possible in any way to calculate which plane it could be heading to, or?
It's going metaphysically down. The lower planes.
Confirms where it's going.
Yeah.
So yeah, I will. Yeah, I'll have it match speed with Elturel for the time being, and I will get the homunculus to let the party know where it is, and then I will using creation.
Where what is? Sorry.
I'll create where the spelljammer is beneath Elturel. And I will use creation to create a rope ladder kind of thing, and I'll have my homunculus come and pick it up and kind of bring it up near one of the bridges in the middle of Elturel, so that they can get down to the spelljammer or up from the spelljammer by going up or down a rope ladder from the center of the city where the river used to be.
That's cool. Yeah, absolutely. You learn that the bridges are connected by truly powerful runes that are still very active, dedicated to Lathander, to Torm, to Tyr. These runes are ingrained into the bridge, and with a relatively simple action, a priest or a paladin can activate the runes and cause radiant energy to utterly annihilate enemies of humanity, or you know what I mean. So they don't hurt humanoids, but they will destroy your traditional detect evil creatures.
Is it safe to assume those enchantments are the only thing stopping the city from splitting in two?
The bridges, yeah, that is a very safe assumption. The bridges are holding the two islands of Elturel. Elturel would be two islands if it weren't for the bridges, and the bridges are not crumbling. So those runes are probably the reason why.
All right. So yeah, Lucius will leave his homunculus down at the ship and then go up and meet them, I think.
All right. The ship is safely moored, assuming that no one climbs down and steals your spell jammer.
That's why the homunculus is checking on it, because if someone tries, Lucius is going to immediately dimension door over and disintegrate them.
No worries.
No one steals my fucking ride. I've spent the last 24 hours repairing this thing, god damn it.
One of this old campaign, and now here it is.
Lucius is like, I mean, it's great and all to rescue Sandra's parents, but god damn it, I'm keeping this ship.
The spelljammer just falls into our lap.
Yeah, we're gonna get to hell, and then you're gonna find fucking imps be like Jawas, and they're gonna fucking dismantle shit. And you're gonna be like, I got fucking imps, and he's gonna chase after. It's good. Like, please, just make it happen now.
Or, when we get to hell, I'm going to moor it somewhere and then go pick up my simulacrum with plane shift. And my simulacrum can fly it back to the material plane.
He just has to make it all serious now.
Yeah, the mental
You
image.
don't joke about Jawas, alright?
Yes, I obviously did.
Jawas
It
are
was funny
fucking
as fuck.
demons.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what's gonna happen in hell. I'm calling it.
Alright, well, the ship's in working condition, so we've got a way out of here now. Although I'm not sure that it'll support too many people.
Lucius, we were considering infiltrating the cult of Zariel here. Perhaps impersonating members that are already established in the group. Finding out what we can.
Impersonating members, or I suggest going to the Paladins and just organizing to go with them to apprehend all of them.
I'm sorry, this is like half a day later after we were waiting for Lucius, is that correct?
That's right. It would have taken, as you say, about half a day, maybe even as many as 18 hours before he arrived. So if there's anything that you want to do in that time, that's fine.
Yeah, I wanted to go out into the city, put it in text, but you guys might have missed it.
I'm bad. I don't really read text, so you'll have to.
I wanted to look around in the city for the area that I can find with the highest populace, particularly like common folk, less intelligent. But I mean, I'll take.
Absolutely. I'm pretty sure I've got there's Elturel. Cool. So the majority of the population, I might lag a fair bit as I load a new page. Majority of the population can be found around the High Hall, and to a lesser extent, the suburbs that surround it. But that's where most of the people have gathered.
And the High Hall is.
Yeah.
Is that like the base of the Flaming Fist or the Paladins?
Both of them. They've both kind of claimed it, and for now they're kind of sharing it. That's probably the simplest way of describing it. So if there is a central place, it's definitely the High Hall.
I'll try and be like on the way to High Hall, but I don't want to actually be right next to it because I'm trying to avoid both of those factions currently. And she wants to get up, like find a barrel or a box or something, and stand up and try and get people's attention. And I want to start preaching to the people of Elturel how their leadership has forsaken them and their gods forsaken them, and even each other have kind of forsaken each other, and that there is one person, one entity that would never forsake her children, and that's the Pale Lady. If they would turn to her in their hour of need, they wouldn't be forgotten, and they would be protected from anything that awaits them in the unknown before them.
Well, on one hand, it doesn't take much convincing for them to believe that that their gods have abandoned them and their leadership is incompetent. So they can kind of see that with their own eyes. However, this idea that you might come in with some foreign religion and sweep people off their feet, opportunistic and well-timed though it may be. It's difficult to gauge how successful it will be. Why don't you get moving? Why don't you get lost? And people are kind of seem to be either clamoring for a demonstration of power or merely waiting to see if your money's where your mouth is and you'll punish the non-believer. So they taunt you. They throw rocks and bricks and not rotten food because they need that rotten food.
Okay. I will respond in kind. We are all lost, my friend. Can you not see around you? But the lady provides the way. Yet but a week ago I was a lowly servant such as yourself, and now I have the means to defend myself, whatever may come. And with that, I will cast Crown of Stars, and I'll just add a building, some random building, just fucking throw all 10 of them in suggestion, or 8 of them, whatever it is, 7 of them. Just trying to display power, basically.
Brilliant. Make a performance check with advantage. Brilliant. They can't. They. Everybody, the Savior is here. Our Messiah has come. And people flock to you. People absolutely flock to you. So now you've got their ears. Tell us about the pale lady. How will she save us?
If you don't mind me paraphrasing, because I don't want to take up a whole bunch of time with this.
It's okay. We're about to end anyway, so you might. So this will be how we finish. So take up as much time as you want.
Okay. The lady comes from another place, another universe, only now, after eons, ready to guide her children. She is just now coming back into the fold. So she has told me. She has created many of the things around you. Plants, life, all this created by the lady. Lies, you have been told. Shantia, Lathander, all lies. The lady is the way. She can guide us into a brighter future. Alteriel can be saved. We need but your action, your belief, and it can be so.
Do you believe your own words?
Yes.
Then make a persuasion.
Well, yes and no. She believes that she can save them. No, that she doesn't believe that she created everything. So it's kind of half.
Then make one of each. Brilliant and brilliant. I call these 3-4 rolls. You basically get 4 chances. You must succeed 3 times. You've already gone beyond the expectations and achieved your goal, and yet you still have another ace up your sleeve. If you want, you can make another performance check or another persuasion or another deception, or use an entirely different skill altogether. But you have these people in your palm. Your cult has been founded and has a population of roll 20 D10. We'll use those numbers. 20 D10. All right, so 127 people are looking for a savior, and your cult is basically about half the size of Gideon Lightward's Zariel cult. There is now a 4th faction in the city. So how do you seal the deal? Do you give them motivation or direction or action, or do you just tell them all will be well?
Yeah, I'll give them direction by saying, the Fist, the Paladins, the false prophets within your city cannot lead you to where you need to be led. The lady has given you your leaders. They are the ones who have saved your city already, so I am told. It is them you must put your faith in. Them you must put your trust in. Them you must use your eyes and your ears for, and they can lead us to a better foundation, a better world, wherever that may be.
She's right, you know. They've brought this ship here to save us. Yes, let's go to the ship. Yes! Lucius, your ship is being stormed.
I will dimension door back to the ship and cut the rope.
All right.
No, it's not ready to hold hundreds of people.
We shall leave it there for the week as we once again are cast adrift in the astral sea on our way to hell.
Man, nice speech there, Rex. That was sick.
Yeah, it's a pretty good speech.
Good to have you on board.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I lost the voice, the female voice, but hey, whatever. We'll
But
get
you
used to
gained
it.
127 cultists.
Yeah.
Cult
And to
is
think, we
the
just
perfect word for
got
that.
rid of Eldritch.
Yeah.
One cult with another.
Yeah, the last one was sexier though.
Yeah, and the last one didn't talk shit about Lathander, so fuck this.
Fuck Lathander. Bitch ass.